Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Yes, we are back again for another Freaky Friday. Scotty Lopez in the hot seat. How you doing, man? How you doing?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic, Mr. Baker. How
That's
are
what I
you
like
doing?
to hear. Yes, I really thoroughly enjoyed our Halloween special last week, dude. That was pretty good
Uh, it,
stuff.
I mean, we brought the Halloween spooky content to the table, man.
The gavel of woo was brought to the court of the paranormal, and we smashed it. Yes, indeed. So how you doing, man? What's happening? Headache last night. Are we ready to go tonight?
Yeah, when you suffer from chronic migraines, sometimes those fall on inconvenient days, and just yesterday wasn't. It was a no go. Had to
Oh, brother.
hunker in and just
Don't
you
envy
know.
you. Do not envy you, man. Not at all. There's like toothache, earache, headache. Ah, bear with sore head material. Not good. These are three things men cannot deal with.
No, exactly. And so I was out for the count, but I'm feeling better now. We're good to go. Back in the saddle, ready for some woo.
Big time. And
And
do we have some woo, Scotty boy? Don't we? Dang, dude. You've got this new plethora of cryptid activity and information. I've got something on Boleskine House. We've got something on Egypt. We have got something on ghosts. Could be a typical
haunted
Freaky Friday.
websites. Yeah, just your typical average smattering of
A
woo.
smattering, if you may.
Yes, a cornucopia,
It can
a
only
plethora.
qualify for a smorgasbord when we get to the final segment. There's a criteria that has to be met. Nobody knows that criteria, but it has to be met.
There's like a hierarchy of like levels of woo of like different platters. I guess you
man.
could say.
I mean, you can like tell people you've got a good show coming up, but you should never have the audacity to begin the show with a smorgasbord. The smorgasbord, it develops over time, Scott, you know? Yeah.
Oh, it's like you go to those fancy restaurants and they give you like those 5-6 course meals
There
or
you
whatever. Start out with one thing and then you move to the next. Okay. Yeah.
And you see, you're feeling it already, man. You're liking the restaurant of woo, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So on the menu tonight, we have many things for you to choose from, indeed. But before...
Hey, wouldn't that be a good idea? Like a restaurant that is all centered around
woo. That'd be awesome, wouldn't it? We could build it next to my conspiracy cafe. It's going to be my my little shop where you can partake in a little bit of plumage.
Is it an offshoot of Sitchin's Kitchen?
Well, it's unfortunately, unlike Sitchin's Kitchen, which sits in one of the deepest craters up on the moon, mine is very much confined to terra firma, Scotty. It's like an earthly franchise that only exists in the neural pathways of my broken mind. Yeah.
Okay.
But if I ever see anyone coming up with that conspiracy cafe idea, I'll be very, very pissed. Very pissed. Yeah. Stole my idea, dude. But anyway, on Freaky Friday, before me and Scott forget what we're even doing here, what we do is we head on over to tfrlive.com, the home of Freaky Friday, and where all of the Wookiees hang out. Yes. Roll call for the Wookiees will be in about 2 minutes. No, I'm not counting. I'm heading over there right now. So if you want to get into the chat room, it's completely free. All you got to do is go to tfrlive.com/chat. And a big shout out to everyone over on the KBS2 YouTube channel. It's our one simulcast of the week. So it's great to see all of you here. So what I'm going to do is now, that's not 2 minutes, but that's how I roll, over to the chat room. We've got Sophia, the very attractive non-human robot. We've got Bam, Paradoxical Anomaly, Onslow, Cold Brews, all one, the Waffle Buddy, Psycho Dave, a Little Giant, I like it, I like that, Lavender, Free Assange, great call, And fancy being. Yes, indeed. So there we go.
I'm going to link. I'm going to do a link two names in the chat here.
Oh.
Is the little giant a paradoxical anomaly?
Oh, I like it. I like it. I like it. Yep.
Mm.
Yep. Very, very astute of you, Mr. Lopez.
Yes, indeed.
Indeed. So were you letting off lots of fireworks for November the 5th? Remember the 5th of November? Was that happening, man?
At this point, yeah.
Just yeah.
I'm yeah. Let's do it.
Yep. Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
So, where to begin today? Where will we go, Scott? Will we go to one of your offerings of woo?
I think so. I think since we're this is the first Freaky Friday coming off of Halloween. I think we still need to stick to a little bit of the spooky, ghostly sort of.
Absolutely
kind of
concur, 200%. This is going to be your 3 hours of avoiding everything that might be going on in the world right now. Who knows? The woo is dialed up.
Hey, there's absolutely nothing else going on in the world right now, Kev. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's freaky. There's only one thing happens. It's Freaky Friday, right?
Yes, indeed. So yeah, we'll start out with a little ghostly woo, and then as the show evolves, we'll get into some other interesting topics and things. But I stumbled across this on the old Mysterious Universe right before the show.
Is this Little People?
I have some of that too.
Which
but
one
I
is it? Is it the?
Here,
Is it the Bizarre Tale? Is that the one?
Yes.
Yes.
The
Yes.
Bizarre Tale of the Haunted Website.
Take us into it, Mr. Lopez. Take the woo away.
Okay. So this kind of caught my attention because it makes you wonder, can a website be haunted? What do you think, Kev? Do you think a website?
Oh, I actually am. Good question. What a great place to start. I think, depending on the viewer of the website, yeah, why not? We talk about tulpas, things like that. Maybe there is something you can, yeah, why not? I can go for it. Yeah.
I think so as well. I first of all, I think it depends on the intent put behind the creator of the website and what their intentions are for it. Maybe some of the symbology and everything may be used in the website, and like you said, the person visiting the website themselves, what their intent is. We talked about tulpas. Didn't the Slender Man originate online? There's an example.
The perfect example, Scott. I think the Black Eyed Kids plays into a lot of this as well, to be honest with you.
I definitely think that's a possibility, let's get into this here. It's the Bizarre Tale of the Haunted Website. This is from Brent Swancer over there at the Mysterious Universe. And it says, there have been various ghostly legends and tales told throughout the ages, their truth very often obscured by the mists of time. Ooh, the mists, Kev. While these stories go back centuries, such tales also have managed to worm their way into the modern age, embedding themselves within our technology and modern habits. This can be seen especially on the internet, which has managed to spawn all manner of modern urban legends, for which it is not always exactly clear what is true and what is pure fiction. One such story that has made the rounds in recent times concerns a mysterious website that is said to be haunted, cursed, or both. Like many internet legends, the tale of the haunted website has a rather in-depth backstory. According to the lore, there was a little girl born in the 18th century, and although it is unknown what her original name was, she is mostly referred to as, was it Ripley Snatus? Ripley Snatus.
Listen, it's a far better attempt than I would have made, Scott. We'll just call it Rep.
Yeah, maybe like Ripley from Aliens.
Yeah, we'll go with Ripley. Yeah, that's it, man.
Yeah, we'll go Ripley.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ripley Snatus or Snatus or whatever.
Big Rip.
She big Rip. She was apparently born after her parents suffered through several miscarriages, so for them her birth was considered a bit of a miracle, especially since she turned out to be very healthy and seemingly normal baby girl. But things would turn out to be quite sinister. It is said that as the baby grew, it was noticed that she had a strangely shaped birthmark on her face. And although the parents didn't think much of it at first, rumors began to swirl around their village. It's one of these things. People began to claim that the odd birthmark was actually the mark of the devil himself, which caused people to react to the girl with either fear, animosity, or some combination of both. The dark tale says that although her mother loved her, the father became more and more convinced that the rumors were true and that his daughter had been marked by Satan. He took to forbidding her to go outside until after midnight. And as his obsession with the devil grew, he supposedly took to locking Ripley in her room full of mirrors.
Nobody puts Ripley in the corner, Scott. Nobody puts Ripley in the corner.
So he locked her in a room full of mirrors. Wouldn't that create like a? Do you think just in general, like all of this other stuff aside, like if you were locked in a room like with mirrors covered on all sides and it had that weird infinity effect, what kind of like psychological effect would that have on you?
A really, really powerful one. There's something about that, dude. It's even like when I set up the stream sometimes, right? And it'll default to, instead of showing the web page, it'll pick up Streamlabs. And it just looks like it's, Streamlabs way into another dimension.
Yeah, you get the infinity effect or whatever. Well, if you line a room, like all four sides of a room with mirrors, you get the infinity effect where you just see yourself repeating into infinity. So, I mean, if there was anything to this, you got to figure that would be a really crazy psychological kind of
dude. They ought to like take a leaf out of that book and put it into like, I don't know, some torture manual somewhere. Somebody somewhere is sitting going, I hadn't thought of that.
Maybe it is.
I'd say it probably is, Scott. I would say so. That would be disturbing. It would. Something about that, man. It's weird.
Yeah. So apparently, they locked this Ripley in a room full of mirrors and told not to look into them because her visage would cause them to crack and allow the devil into this world. Pretty creepy stuff already, but it gets even weirder, Kev.
Whoa. Liking it.
The abuse directed towards Ripley by her father apparently became worse, with him putting her through various tortures in order to try and drive the devil out. As this was going on, he is described as rapidly losing his grip on reality. It looks like the only person the devil was taking over seemed to be Ripley's father.
Yep. It sounds like he had serious issues going on, right?
Yeah. He became an eccentric recluse, never leaving his cursed daughter out of his sight for even a moment. And then one day it all came to a head, and he just snapped. According to the legend, he then did something really bad to her and his wife. Before then engaging in some self-deletion.
Self-deletion's a thing, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Never So it is said that the bodies of Ripley and her mother were lashed to a tree in the forest, facing opposite directions, and that neither of them ever received a proper burial, with Ripley being unceremoniously interred right under the tree she had been tied to. The father supposedly did all of this grim work, thinking this would purge the world of evil. But instead, Ripley remained.
Getting good, this dude.
This is good stuff. Yeah. The original legend tied to Ripley is that the spirit lurks about mirrors, gravitating towards them as a moth does to flame, and that it is possible to contact her through these mirrors.
But that's the thing, though. I mean, Scott, sorry to break in there, but I remember watching the whole scrying. There's various ways of doing scrying, but I've seen one where you stare into the mirror, and they say it's almost like dysmorphia. You see your face kind of changing and things. Now, I have to be logical as well, right? Now, I think mirrors are magical. They are portals of some kind, right? It's weird what goes on with a mirror.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you stare at anything long enough, particularly like your own face, Scott, I mean, is pareidolia not going to start taking over anyway, and you're going to start to think you're seeing things changing? What do you think to that, man? Because I think scrying is a thing where you can contact the other side, but staring into the mirror, what do you think?
I've done that experiment where you put the lights really low, just enough to where you can like see the outline of yourself in the mirror. A lot of people do it with like candlelight or a nightlight or something like that, just enough to kind of illuminate. And then you stare, and you just keep staring, and you just keep looking at yourself in the eyes. And I don't know, man, some really weird stuff starts happening. Like, you're looking at yourself, but then the longer it goes on, it starts to not look like you, and you start to become detached from and then like it seems like your face starts morphing and things start getting really kind of weird.
It sounds like it's getting a little bitty squirrely in there, man.
Yeah, things get kind of strange, and
I've got goosebumps even thinking about it now, dude. Your face starts changing. You don't feel yourself.
Excuse me, it's man.
That starts shouting back at you through the mirror. Who knows, dude?
Yeah. And it definitely doesn't help if you're under the influence of PPP or some magical mushroom activity or anything like that.
Dear Lord, no.
That just kind of takes it to a whole new level there.
Hypothetically speaking, of course, Scott isn't talking from experience here, obviously.
Oh, no, I would never engage in those kind of things, Kev. I don't know what you're talking about. But really, though, I do think there's something to the mirrors thing, no doubt.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting because before I jumped on Skype with you before the show, I had actually thought about that. That's kind of a weird synchronicity. I was firing up my OBS and my cam software, and I was like, I was kind of thinking about it for a second. Like when somebody looks at you, right? Like when you're looking at somebody in person, or even kind of like right now with our camera, if the camera is flipped the right way, right? Because sometimes but if you're looking at somebody, that's not the view that person has of themselves when they look in a mirror. They're seeing a flipped image of themselves. So you're never looking at yourself the same way that another person is looking at you when you look in a mirror. You're looking at the opposite reflection of yourself, which is why, the words on your shirt are backwards and all of that stuff. And, with the camera software, that's why I sometimes I have to flip it the right way so it looks like it's the right way, And so I was thinking about that before the show, and I found that kind of interesting how that I was kind of pondering that and thinking about that. But yeah, I mean, when you're looking at yourself in a mirror, are you looking? Is
I've
it
thought
kind
about this often, Scott. I've thought about it
Eh,
often. I've often thought, how do other people see me? Because I know I never see myself the way other people. Nobody sees themselves the way that other people see them, right? And even when we do look in the mirror, Scott, because we often talk about the way our brains work and things like that. I mean, does our brain like make it like a less heavy kind of load? Does it even morph around little bits? We think we look the way we look in the mirror. We think we look the way we see ourselves in photographs, but we don't know if there's an extra layer of like brain shenanigans going on. You know, we'll just tweak a little bit here, we'll just tweak a little bit there. He's happy with that look. That'll do him. He's comfortable.
exactly. And then you also have to realize that, you're looking at yourself, your reflection from your perspective, and you're not taking into account other people's perspectives. And do you look different, like from one person compared to another? And really, I mean, you got to think how many kind of versions of you are actually out there that people see.
Terrifying. Terrifying. One's enough.
I mean, one person can see one thing in you where another person can probably see something completely different. I don't know. It's that's a whole rabbit hole and
That's
topic.
part of the simulation, dude. That's part of the avatar tweaking session that we all go through before we step into this reality.
Connie in the chat made a observation that I've noticed as well. We don't hear our voices the same as other people hear our voices. When you talk, there's a much deeper resonance because it's like echoing through your skull. It's emanating from you. So when you hear yourself talk, it's actually a lot deeper, which is why people who do radio and podcasts tend to boost the bass in their voice, because they're trying to when they hear themselves played back, they sound much their voices sound higher than what they normally hear, so they try and compensate for that with EQ and effects and stuff. So
I have no idea what you're talking about, Scott.
oh see guys, that's what Kev really sounds like.
That's what
it's
I
the
sound like.
magic of
Yeah,
radio.
exactly. That was it. All the filters are off when I phone Scott. That's what I sound like, just before the show. You see?
Oh,
I had to let my
God.
cover drop there, Scotty boy, man. I don't know, dude. Come on, man. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Too soon.
So what we'll finish up this part of it before we go to break, and then we'll get into how this ties into this haunted website, because this is just the backstory.
Just the tip.
We have
the tip, Scott.
we haven't even got into how this plays into the internet. So it says that. So the legend tied to this is that Ripley is the spirit that lurks about mirrors, gravitating towards them like a moth to flame, and that it's possible to contact her through these mirrors. It says traditionally it was said that if you want to make her appear, you must be alone in a darkened room at exactly midnight and write the name. Write the words Ripley Snodus backwards on a mirror 6 times.
We had problems saying it forwards, let alone writing it backwards into a mirror. Yeah.
Oh, wait. If you start looking at Ripley Snodus backwards, what does Snodus say backwards?
Santa's helper.
Mm-hmm.
Are we trying to summon the ghost of Santa's helper? This is brilliant, man.
Oh, yeah. It says you write it backwards on a mirror 6 times by candlelight. And if you do it right, the mirror will then crack, and she will supposedly appear in the fractured mirror image behind you. She will then communicate with the one who summoned her, but you are never to turn around and try to try and look at her directly, as this will make her angry and she will either attack you or delete you from this realm, my friend.
Hold that thought, brother. Hold that thought, because we are right on it. We're about to go to the break already. It's already shaping up to be one of these Freaky Fridays. It's going to be brilliant. We're going to come back. We're going to get into Ripley and this amazingly haunted website. And then we're going to take it even further into the woo. Oh, we've got some good stuff today. So remember, go and hit share during the break. Tell everyone about Freaky Friday. Let's crash this party and let's dial up the woo to 11 when we come right back with more from Scotty Lopez and me, Kev Baker, on your Freaky Friday. But an absolutely splendid choice, Scott Lopez. And of course, we're still here with over 100 disembodied names in the chat room. Yes. It's like we have our own digital Ouija board here, Scott. We've got communications, we've got messages coming in from all over the world. Look.
We are. I feel the atmosphere around me charging up. I feel the ectoplasm oozing in.
Oh, you can't beat a bit of oozing ectoplasm, Scott. Ectoplasm's at its best when it oozes.
Exactly.
Yes, indeed. So a big shout out to everyone in the chat room.
Yeah, people in the chat saying they're getting scared. It's
could be one of these ones. Mm-hmm. Indeed. Okay. We've got some scary Crowley to come. We've got ancient curses from Egypt, and Scott has got a plethora of these weird, creepy, Freaky Friday stories. Getting better every week, dude. No, we don't even try. The minute we try and make Freaky Friday good, it's going to go horribly wrong, right?
Exactly. I mean, literally, like right before the show, I just said, let me check the old Mysterious Universe, see what they got.
And the best way to do it, man. It's the best way to do it. If you plan all this out, it all goes wrong. Something will come up in the conversation, you'll get waylaid, you go somewhere else, and I tell you, it just is what it is.
And you got to go by feel too, gut feeling. Like if you just see a headline or if you just see a storyline, like
just headline. Put the heating off, Scott. It'll be 1 second, okay?
Okie dokie. Yeah, we don't do much too much planning for the show, as opposed to what people may believe. We do it on the fly. I think that tends to make the show much better, especially when we react to the story along with everybody else who is viewing. Because I didn't read any of this beforehand. I just, like I said, I just saw the storyline. I was like, hey, cool, a haunted website. What's this going to lead to?
You could feel the woo. Can you?
I could feel the woo. Yeah, it's like I'm, what was it, dowsing? I'm dowsing for woo.
I like that. I like it, man. Get your woo stick out. That sounds a whole lot ruder than I intended it to be.
So my mom got a new cell phone, right? And so now she's like wanting to get these ghost apps.
Oh.
And told her, I don't know how many of them are actually legit, how many aren't. I guess there's this one that's out there called the Necrophonic app that everybody uses.
Even the name of it sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's called the. I guess a lot of paranormal investigators and people that do ghost.
Good name for a rock band, the Necrophonics.
Yeah, Necrophonic.
I like it, dude.
It does have a nice ring to it.
Yeah, I like it.
It's kind of like one of them scanners, like like.
Yeah, but hey, I think there's something to them, dude. I do think there's something to them. And at the same time, I don't think all of them are legit, but I think there's something to it,
Yeah.
We think there's an electromagnetic component to this other side, which I really think that there is, because it affects the electromagnetic equipment. Then why not?
That's why people feel static. The atmosphere around them
Here we
changed
go.
and stuff.
Can
So.
you feel the static? Can you feel the woo? Here we go. Welcome back, all you woo seekers, time travelers, interdimensional creepers, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, second part of this week's Freaky Friday. And Scott Lopez, I'm coming right back to you, man. Nobody wants to hear from me. They want to get back into Ripley's adventure with the mirrors and the craziness that's going on with a haunted website, dude.
Ripley Snodus.
Blah, blah. Get your mirrors out, folks. Get your mirrors out. Yep.
Write her name in the mirror 6 times backwards, and she'll show up behind you. And
Write
not
in with
to
it, yeah. People can write in with their own experiences. Me and Scott will take your word for it, and we will talk about it on air next week. Me? I don't think I'll be writing her name on any mirror anytime soon, Scott.
Nah. Not something I want to test out. I'll take their word for it.
Exactly. Some woo you can just take to the bank, right?
Yes, indeed. So, depending on what mood she's in, depends on what she'll do to you if you make the unfortunate mistake of turning around to look at her directly.
Typical woman.
So it says, in order to make her go away, you are supposed to blow out the candle while saying "Ripley," after which she will vanish and leave you alone in the dark room once again.
Oh, that wouldn't be terrifying, eh? You blow out the light, you extinguish the remaining bit of light in a dark room. That's going to make you feel brilliant when you've had a disembodied Ripley out of Alien breathing down your neck. You know? Damn, dude.
How do you confirm she's actually gone if you can't see anything? You know, I don't know.
Exactly, man.
I wouldn't feel very at ease after doing that. So it says this was the common legend, but it also seems Ripley has managed to make her way into the internet world. The new twist on the legend is that there is a website devoted to her memory, simply called Ripley Snodus.
Oh, God.
You know,
I can hear keyboards around the world right now. Oh, how do we get there? Yes, echoes.
The sound of a million taps have echoed through the
Google crawlers are wondering what's going on as people are typing in Ripley Snodus. What the heck's going on over there on Freaky Friday, you know?
Says in order to view the page, you must first gain access. But the site is said to open for some and not for others. It is unknown why this should be, but some people simply cannot get onto the site, even after switching devices. No matter how many times they try, if one is lucky enough to get in, they will be treated to a collage of creepy photographs, allegedly of Ripley, as well as cryptic spooky messages in her honor, all accompanied by unsettling off-kilter music in the background. This opening page is another hurdle to cross, and there seems to be nothing else one can do here. No links, no boxes to type something into, just a wall of eerie creepiness. In some versions of the tale, if you access the site, there will be a message or even a voice that tells the visitor to come back at midnight.
Doesn't want me. This website doesn't want me, dude. It's not having the wee man. The site can't be reached. It ain't wanting me.
Oh.
Yep. God dang. Why did I even try that? But I did. What is that?
Yeah, it was look at all the people going and typing that in right now.
I'm
as he
actually
proceeds
shocked.
to go
There's like, it looks like there's a whole heap of lore around this whole thing on the internet. Videos, websites.
There must be something going on with
And
this.
Scott, even the attention that people are giving it. And here we are, feeding into it. We're literally helping to build and construct and bring about that tulpa, whatever it is, man.
Huh?
Yep.
Mm.
Look at us tulpamancers. Woo!
Fancy.
Yeah. Freaky Friday with the necrophonics.
Exactly.
Oh.
It says if you do access the site exactly at midnight, there will supposedly be a box that appears where there was none before. And the site will instruct you to type in the name of a person who you wish to get revenge on as you imagine that person's face.
Right, this just took a bit of a sinister kind of twist, did it, no? What's that all about?
See, this is where we get into what we were talking about before, Kev. The intent behind the site, right? So if you got a person who's already, looking into this, they know the legend and the lore behind, Ripley Snotus, and now they're being prompted to think about somebody they want to get revenge on or somebody that they hate or whatever, and to picture that person's face in their mind's eye and then type it into this box. Isn't that kind of like a digital form of like a voodoo doll or a puppet?
It is where I come from. It is now. Big time. Of course it is. Yeah, it's like almost like a digital magical spell, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Right? I mean, you're telling somebody to focus all their intent into something and then act, kind of like, act upon it by putting it out there, typing that name into the, marking that page with that person. So
this is part of that whole magic that we all have within us, Scott. We talk about intent. We talk about, when you start talking about something, you end up seeing it around you everywhere. We really, I don't think any of us, even the most gifted necromancers and telemancers out there, right, or tulpamancers, I don't think any of them have any idea how powerful intent, ideas, spelling words, I don't think any of us truly appreciate just how much that ties into everything, dude. Everything.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. So, continuing on, it says, according to ominous internet accounts, this will sometimes be preceded by riddles one must answer to move onto the box, or even the ghostly voice of Ripley herself asking you if you want to play. Some reports even describe seeing the ghost of the girl lurking in the reflections of the computer screen. Ooh, can you imagine being on that site? And you see
no, thank you. No.
something kind of reflecting out of your monitor, your computer screen behind you, like, hey, do you want to play, Kev?
Oh, dude. Not good, man. Not good.
So it says, at this point, you probably don't want to play at all. But if you do, and type that name in, the person you have specified will apparently soon after experience some misfortune, calamity, or even an unfortunate deletion from this realm. The payment for this service is that Ripley now gets to come, gets to come into your dreams and nightmares for as long as you live. This sounds like it must all be surely pure urban legend, but there are numerous accounts of people visiting this site and experiencing all manner of weird things. One report from the site, Creeped, comes from a witness who says he had quite the bizarre experience when using the site. The witness explains, so at first it wasn't that scary, just a page with some creepy noises and candles. All you can do is type in your name, email address, and the country you live in, You then click a button and are invited to come back at midnight. You cannot do anything else. As I don't scare easily, I went back on the page at midnight, but now it was different. It starts off a little creepy with a few scary sounds and weird pictures. From there, you get the pictures of the girl, and it gets frighteningly more scary. You then get to a page and it asks you to put in a quote unquote a victim's name. I just typed in the first name that popped into my head. We'll just say John. And then from there, it tells you to click on the candle. After doing this, the screen starts flashing with all these freaky images. And I heard all these screams, so I quickly shut it down as I was severely freaked. That night, I went to bed and had weird dreams about the little girl and the images I had seen, but nothing overtly frightening. I went about my day as normal, but when I returned home that afternoon, I had a call from my mom. My Uncle John had mysteriously passed away. Oh, that night of what they believed to be a heart attack. They said he was found in the corner of the lounge room with the look of absolute fear on his face, like he had seen a ghost. They also said he had this strange red marking on his chest. If quickly remembered back to the site, and after clicking the button, text popping up saying, "Your victim has been marked." Surely this was all coincidence. It had to be. That night I struggled to get to sleep, but when I did, I had a long, dreamless sleep. When I woke up the next morning, there was a crack in my mirror. This was 3 days ago. I have not slept since. I feel like every time I close my eyes, I see that little girl, and when I turn the light off, I think I see her at the corner of my eye behind me, getting closer, smiling, tormenting me like she was once tormented. Do not look for this site, and if you do manage to get on it, do not enter a name because you will regret what follows. That's pretty creepy.
Yeah, it's dialed the creep factor up. That guy got more than he bargained for. Just going to a website. You know, it's like us, Scott. We just, you're a website like me. I go and Google it. Let me in there. Let me in there. You know, you got no idea what you're bloody opening up, you know?
And then, to think maybe he unintentionally was responsible for his uncle's death by just putting in a random name, right? Like he was like, I'll just put in John, and then not think, he might have a family member named John or somebody around him named,
Be careful what you wish for. Never a truer phrase, eh?
He may have unintentionally marked somebody for something, and I don't know. So it says, there are numerous other accounts and stories like this floating around in forums, online, and on sites like Reddit. And we are left to wonder just what is going on here. Although there seem to be plenty of people who are convinced there is some reality to this, and that it is a genuine paranormal phenomenon, it seems more likely that it's just a creepy urban legend. First, it's based on a spooky story that cannot be confirmed about a girl that may not have even existed at all. And there's the sort of suspicious fact that the unlikely name Ripley Asnatus is Satan's helper.
I preferred my interpretation for Santa's helper. It made it a whole lot better, wasn't it? I mean, you're dealing with two totally different ends of the spectrum there. Rudolph turning up in your mirror in your dreams, not a problem, right?
An elf with a present versus a girl who wants to delete you from this plane of existence. Yeah.
Your magic spells and dyslexics, they should never go together. Never go together. Yep.
Never. No. Absolutely not. Hey, this goes back to my whole thing of, maybe the whole 2012 thing was just some dyslexic Mayan. or whoever interpreted it was dyslexic, and we needed to flip that 12 around, and it's 2021. But
My good friend ZX is talking about a game that he's got. It'll freak you right out. Not sure of the name of it, but it claims to be able to read minds and things like that, Scotty. But really, what it's doing is it's a way of scraping away at your social media and things like that, so it knows your contacts and. Yeah, that would freak you out. Freak you out if you didn't know, like, you could play a really good trick on somebody with that. They didn't know what they were doing and things. You say, look what that knows about you, dude. But then...
It's amazing how they can scrape all this data on you and make it seem magical. And it just shows that, you know...
That's what's happening. That's the magic of social media.
Yeah. It is. It is.
Yeah.
So, it says, there is, in fact, an actual website called Ripley Snotus, which I will refrain from linking here. And it is indeed supposedly every bit as creepy as you might imagine. But it is most likely a site created to be scary as either viral marketing or merely for someone's sixth sense of fun. It is apparently quite unsettling, yet there is no evidence at all that anything paranormal happens there. In the end, it is probably just a scary internet story like many others out there, but it has still managed to draw to it a large amount of discussion and debate, and is all certainly a very bizarre and creepy tale all the same. And look, this goes back to what I was saying. I think it's the intent behind it.
Yep.
We don't know what the intent of the person who created that website was,
and then your own energy that you pour into it, you know.
Yeah, and then the intent and the energy, whatever the person visiting the website is putting into it.
I like that, dude. I like that.
I do too. That was pretty good.
I think the perfect follow up to that has to be some creepy Crowley, right?
Yeah,
because I mean, big time. Now I can't remember if we seen a mirror when we were in Aleister Crowley's. Funnily enough, wasn't something I was looking for to sit and do some scrying into, anything like that. But it's back in the news again, folks. It's not me just trying to get more content out of something I've spoken about ad nauseum. And last week came up in a little bit of my presentation I made at the Fringe Fest. All the stuff that's going on at Crowley's old gaff. Of course, you've got the Boleskine Foundation. They've moved into the area. They're restoring the Edwardian property to its prior glory. That's what it says on the tin. But the locals are starting to freak out. And as somebody that's grown up in the area, I can imagine, I can see why. It's justified freaking out, okay? Because we come over here to one of our major red top papers, got the Daily Record, the Daily Ranger, as we like to call it here in the west of Scotland. But it says here, Satanists' fears over development of former occultist Scots home grow despite secular promises indeed. So it says, in an article uncovered by the Foundation who manage the Loch Ness property say they plan to uphold the occult legacy of the house. Now, do you remember when we started looking into this place, Scott, when they bought it, when the fires were happening? This was something that wasn't hidden at the time. I was reading articles where they were talking about inviting people from all around the world for occult holidays. They were offering to teach local kids in the area for free. They could come and attend Thelema workshops, and then all went quiet.
Yes, I do remember that. I specifically remember that, after the fire, it was like the something foundation. Was it the Boleskine Foundation or something? They were gonna rebuild it. They were gonna open it as some kind of a spiritual center that was dedicated to the thelemic practices of Crowley, and that they were gonna open it up as some kind of like wellness center where people could go. And
that was exactly the word, dude. A wellness center, a spiritual retreat on the banks of Loch Ness. Sounds delightful, doesn't it? Sounds like something you'd be doing a little bit of yoga, chilling out.
Yeah, they were putting this kind of like weird new agey spin on it with like the undertones of the beast himself creeping through it. It was like, ugh, blah.
Yeah, yeah.
So no, you're right. They were quite open about what their intentions were in the beginning, and now they've kind of shifted away from that. It kind of wasn't good PR, I guess,
And I'm
for
trying to
them.
trace down one of the people behind the Boleskine Foundation. They say they're nothing really to do with Aleister Crowley, anything like that. But one of
Mhm.
them has allegedly written a book about Crowley in the past. Now, I'm still trying to pin that down. I'm going to be doing a major show on him soon, lining up something really, really tasty in the background. I'll tell you about it off air, Scotty, but it's going to be good.
Okay.
It's going to be really good. Now, this story here, if we come into it, remember, it wasn't that long ago we had the joy, the pleasure of watching somebody's video where they had bought a Dybbuk box off the internet. And that Dybbuk box was said to have been retrieved, recovered from under the debris at Boleskine House. There's an old looking creepy old box with some red candle wax on it, and inside it, it had one of these Hessian sack type poppets. A really creepy looking, for lack of a better term, a voodoo doll. It's some old coins in there and it had a picture of Baal. Yes, now, where this box originated, its true origin story, at this point in my mind, it actually bears no relevance to what's happening now, because the guy who bought it, person who bought it, was it the Tea Biscuit Tin? I think it was something like that, or Tin Biscuit Podcast, that was it. They've got this box now. They've gone through it. We've looked at it. They believe there's something to it. And the fact that they believe there's something to it, and the person who put it out there with the intent, whether it's from Crowley's or not, for me, Scott, the box itself takes on its own magic, right? Whether it came from Crowley or not. So against the backdrop of all of that, people going missing, turning up, it's been weird up there. Don't fly drones, poisonous paint, don't come near the property. It's crazy, right? So now they're saying fears are growing that the former home of an orgy-loving occultist on the shores of Loch Ness will become a black magic hub. Boleskine House was once owned by infamous ceremonial magician. Ceremonial magician. He only done it for show, Scott. You know, he wasn't really a magician. It was just like he was putting an act on, you know? Aleister Crowley, who called himself the wickedest man in the world. Now, Crowley, who passed away in 1947, he had some really strange habits, and he staged huge orgies there, fueled by lots of drugs. This week, protesters demanded that council bosses throw out plans to turn the state, that also used to be the Highland home of Led Zeppelin's guitarist, Jimmy Page, into 10 holiday lodges. So they're breaking up this, they're using the property now, Scott, and they bought one of the other properties on this plot of Boleskine, and it sounds like they're going to be making like chalets, turning it into, dare I say, a holiday park.
Well, wouldn't that also kind of tie into the whole wellness center thing that they were promoting in the beginning, where maybe if somebody wants to go on a retreat or something, and they can kind of stay in their own little lodge for a while and engage in the thalamic
Brown
relaxation.
chicken, brown cow, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
There's going to be a lot of bow, chicka, bow, bow. Yes, so it says, opponents claim the sprawling property will become a pilgrimage site for occultists and Satanists if the application is given the green light. Now, the property is currently managed by a charitable foundation chaired by academic Keith Reedy or Reddy, depending on how you want to pronounce it. There he is there. And I have been in that property. Wouldn't be in it again. Certainly wouldn't be there, sitting all nice and cool. He's got something kind of weird. Oh, no, I hadn't noticed this. Now, He's sitting on a windowsill for the benefit of our radio viewers here. And he's got what looks like a bit of slate lying beside his leg with what looks like B for Bravo, H for Hotel. And it looks like a 1, maybe a 2 or a 7. And then below that, it's got G for Golf, F, and then 21 and possibly a 1 on the end. Now that looks nothing like a postcode or a zip code like you Americans would say for up that way. That's interesting. Now BH, Boleskine House. GF? Not so sure. So it goes on to say the foundation website claims its mission is to use the estate to promote education on the heritage of the house, to welcome the enjoyment of its structure and surrounding gardens. And it adds the Boleskine House Foundation is not affiliated with Aleister Crowley or Thelema as an independent organisation with primary secular interest to restore the house. We'll go back to Boleskine on the other side. 1 hour down, 2 to go on your Freaky Friday. Don't go anywhere. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. The plot thickens with the Boleskine House. We'll go.
It does. It does.
It's just that I wish we had the teleporter. Just so I could take you there. Not even go to the house, Scott. Just stop on the random little bit of road down from the house where you can see it. And already you'll be able to feel it. It is what it is. And we have got a little bit of sound effects in the background. We've got the thunderbolts and lightning are going. You see? They're sporadic. It's not constant rainfall. But yeah, I just wish I could take you there so you could feel it, Scott. It's weird.
Oh, I'm sure that there is definitely a very weird vibe and energy that you can feel.
High strangeness.
High strangeness, indeed. You know, Jimmy Page lived there, right? And
yeah.
Was he living in Boleskine when they wrote like Stairway to Heaven?
No, he actually didn't spend too much time in the property at all.
Okay.
It was more just as a paying homage to his hero, you know. He was a big Crowleyite.
Yeah. And I was wondering because I remember, I believe it was Jimmy Page that said that when they were writing Stairway to Heaven, it felt like that he wasn't writing that song. That I don't know if it was Robert Plant or Jimmy Page. I don't know if it was Robert Plant when he was writing the lyrics or if it was Jimmy Page when he was writing the music. But he said that it felt like something was moving his hand.
But we've often talked about these songwriters and things. Where did the songs come from? Are they really all geniuses or are they in some way channeling things, you know?
Yeah, like they were channeling something, and Stairway to Heaven is what came out of that.
Great song. Great song.
It's a good song. But I was just wondering if he was in Boleskine House at the time when that was occurring.
I'd love to confirm and verify that woo for you, dude. I would.
I know. I know,
but
but
there's stories of people like when people were painting in there. And one story I remember was the guys that were painting the place, nobody living in it at the time, they were doing it up. It was probably in between one buyer selling it on. And the story roughly goes that they went to bed at night, but when they got up in the morning, one of the doors had been completely painted. Like, I've got goosebumps even, like, talking about this. It's like proper... I'd need to get the full story off my mum, but it's creepy-ozy. Creepy-ozy. People that work there, they've got stories to tell, you know, big time. Big time. And up there, it's weird, Scotty, because, like, there's heaps of stories that I take for granted and I think everyone knows, but when you're in that area, it's not like you go running to the Daily Record with your stories. It's just something that's happened in the area. It's part of living there. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You don't go running about telling people. They'll think you're mad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's when you hear local legend and stuff around your local area, you don't think twice about it. You're just like, well, you know, it's like the stall stuff and all of that we hear around here, and you don't just go running around telling everybody about Stoll unless you're me, and then I'll tell everybody about
You're
Stoll.
the stall man. I'm the monster man. You're the stall man.
Yes, exactly.
I like it, dude. I like it. And we're getting ready to come back now, folks. Here we go. We're going back to the mothership. The scary mansion on the hill.
Ooh.
There we go. We're back. Hour number 2 already on this week's Freaky Friday. Thank you all so much for tuning in. And this is really the start of an extravaganza of the weird, the paranormal, the supernatural. Because after today's show here, Freaky Friday, doesn't stop. Brent Thomas will guide you through the paranormal portal. So please stay tuned for that. Brent also simulcasts, so you can find him on tfrlive.com. He's on every night of the week on his YouTube channel, The Paranormal Portal. Talking of paranormal portals, back to the one in the Highlands. I'm telling you. Yeah. So it says here, the Foundation website, and we're talking about Boleskine House for anyone who's just tuning in. The locals are getting a bit restless. They're thinking there's going to be brown chicken, brown cow, mass hedonistic orgies on the banks of Loch Ness. Why the locals are bothered by that? It sounds like a typical weekend, but hey, let's just get back into it. The Foundation website claims its mission is to use the estate to promote education on the heritage of the house and to welcome the enjoyment of its structure and surrounding gardens. And it adds the Boleskine Foundation is not affiliated with Aleister Crowley or Thelema and is an independent organisation with primary secular interests to restore the house. Now, as somebody that comes from the area, I've never heard anyone being interested in Boleskine House for any other reason than Aleister Crowley lived there. Nobody's ever come up to anyone and said, I'm trying to find Boleskine House, mate. All right, Crowley's old place? Well, I didn't actually know he had lived there. I'm just wanting to check out this beautiful Edwardian property on the banks of Loch Ness. That conversation's never happened. Never happened in the history of man. No, I'm not buying it, Scott.
It's like, no, I'm not buying it either. I mean, they're just making it sound like, oh, we're just gonna do a little bit of home renovation, and so people can go and enjoy the view and walk the gardens. And
I mean, if it wasn't that, I mean, we looked for several properties, but you know, it doesn't. There's no relevance to Crowley in this one. We just chose it, you know.
And then for them to kind of really make it a point to, well, it's just primarily secular interests we have at mind. Don't worry about anything.
And then they've got a guy that looks like some grand wizard clearing out the place. Look at this dude. He looks like he's like a 6th Dan wizard.
It's like Gandalf with a construction hat.
It is Gandalf. Don't let that spade and the hat put you off. Even, you see, Scotland, I tell you, man, we're health and safety mad. Even Gandalf has to wear a hat up here. It's crazy, dude. The magical powers don't get you out of that crap. So it goes on to say, however, the Daily Record has uncovered an article that appeared in a Gap? A Gappy?
A Gape?
Yeah, a Gape. A leading occult magazine in America earlier this year that flies in the face of that promise. Oh, Daily Record, if only you listened to the #1 abnormal paranormal show in your own damn country. Never heard of the Kev Bakers? You're going to America for your woo? Come on, man.
At least the Daily Record is doing that hard-hitting journalism, that deep investigative work.
They're
that
scouring occult magazines that we've never heard of, Scotty.
They're getting to the bottom of what's really happening at Boleskine House.
Wait
Kev.
until they find Mysterious Universe, dude. Wow.
Yeah.
So it says, the article titled, Greetings from the Boleskine House Foundation references Thelema, the occult religious movement Crowley founded and was a prophet of, and which he made a profit from. Hey, it's a play with the words, you know. What it said. Are you ready? While the Boleskine House Foundation has been set up primarily is a secular entity established for the public's educational benefit. We would like the reader to know that it is our intention to uphold the Thelemic legacy of the house. And then underneath it's got the original organ. It's got a picture of this magazine. It says the original organ of the U.S. Grand Lodge of OTO. And this comes from November the 1st, 2020, volume 20. Scotty Lopez, look at this, man. We need to get into this magazine.
What a very interesting, yeah, I didn't even know
Agape.
that this Agape.
Yeah, agape sounds good. It sounds like it's magical, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That's weird looking. An OTO magazine. Hey. And
Hey.
who knew? So it says, and it's still quoting from the article here. We hope it will serve as a great opportunity to educate the greater community about Crowley's legacy and thus give Thelema more exposure to the general populace. The piece also explains the significance of Boleskine to Crowley's sinister occult teachings. It explained many Thelemites know Boleskine House as the significant place in history where Aleister Crowley underwent the intensive ceremony known as the Sacred Magic of Abram Mellon, the Mage, in an attempt to contact the Holy Guardian Angel. And there's absolutely zilch that's holy about anything that Aleister Crowley was trying to conjure up, folks, right? Is while the ceremony was never seen to completion at Boleskine House, Crowley would forever consider the estate to be of great, significant spiritual import. Now, Scott, that's really interesting, right? Because that ties in with when I asked the question that nobody can answer. And I had on the brilliant Ken Ami. He's a great guy, but he's done a lot of study on Aleister Crowley along with the investigator William Ramsey. And when I asked him, you know that question I ask anyone, do you know why it was he chose Loch Ness when he had all the money in the world at the time? He was an opulent dude. He had contacts in France, Spain, all across the world, right? But why did he choose, like, the bum end of the Highlands? Like the banks of Loch Ness, was there any significant to it? And of course, even Ken said to me, that's really, really vague. And the one quote that I could kind of tie down to Crowley, it's a quote on the internet, Scott. I don't know if Aleister Crowley ever actually said anything, but he talked about in this one quote how he thought it was interesting that it was an area where there was already a renowned monster in the area. Now, you can make of that what you will with the Loch Ness monster and him seeing himself as a monster, the monsters he was conjuring. I've always wondered if there's something more to it, if there's something more about that location, Scott.
Did Crowley realize that location, that was an area where the veil was thinned, and it would be easier for him to open a portal, if you will, to contact entities from
think
beyond?
About it, Scott.
Right?
He was dealing with manuscripts that people like me and you probably have never seen. I mean, that was one of the things when he got called away from Boleskine. He had been promised some ancient manuscript or transcript from the Golden Dawn or the OTO, and he'd been promised it. It was meant to be getting delivered to him, but then no, something went wrong, so he had to go and retrieve these documents himself. Now, never came back, and it never got to finish it, as we know. But because he's got access to documents and information that your average common man doesn't know about, Scott's got a point. Did he read something in one of these things that told you that like a top 10 places to go and be opening portals? I don't know, but he could have.
But did he kind of realize back then, or was the belief back then that the Loch Ness monster was some kind of interdimensional being as opposed to just some undiscovered species of this realm? and that if it existed in those waters, then that would kind of confirm to him that that was an area of importance as far as the veil being extremely thin in that location, and that it would be much easier for him to do his magic and try and contact let's just say interdimensional entities, because that's really what they're trying to bring in, right? You know, when you're trying to contact things from another realm, it literally is another realm. It's another.
There was a bunch of criteria, Scott, that had to be met for the spell. One of them was it needed that big body of water. Had to be a house facing north-south. And if you're looking for a body of water, then listen, if you've got 3 options, right? Say you've got Loch Ness, 2 other places. Come on. You're going to be doing magic. Why wouldn't you go for Loch Ness, right? You've got the supernatural element there. You've got an area, like I was telling the audience that watched the presentation last week. It's not just the Loch Ness Monster. This place is like an interdimensional pocket. It's like the place that time forgot. There's hauntings everywhere. There's people get freaked out, weirded out, you know?
I was just about to say the same thing. It's not just the Loch Ness Monster.
No.
I'm sure he knew the lore of all of the high strangeness that was going on up there in that area, right? Not, you know, like not just Nessie, but like the Kelpies, the stories like your mom talked about with like the hooven footed guy in the
I've got
pub.
that story, Scott. I've got that story on an audio clip now. We might even listen to that one later on in the show, because when I listened to it on that presentation I done, dude, it creeped people right out. I could see people on Zoom creeping up as it was playing, man.
So I just think he realized that location in general, it is essentially like a natural portal, or that there was something very significant to that area, whether it be like ley line energy or something. It's much easier to pierce the veil and do these rituals and magic in that area. And so that's why he chose the location.
Yep. Liking it, dude. I'm liking it. Here we go. So it says the planning application was lodged with the Highland Council under the Mansion House's Gaelic name of Bail Os Cian. And as a Scotsman, I can tell you right now that was pronounced all wrong. It shows plans to... There she is. There's Mother. Yes. Norman checking in. Mrs. Bates. Yeah, Norman Bates here. It shows plans to create 10 holiday homes with a reception area, a car park, and a sewage treatment plant. Very nice. Opponents are worried that if the development goes ahead, the sprawling site will become a hub for occultists and Satanists from around the world. Children's charity, the Fresh Start Foundation, is representing people both in the local community and further afield who oppose the redevelopment. A picture there of Jimmy Page outside his former magical home. It says a spokesman told the Record. Now listen, I suppose I really need to put this into context in some ways for many people out there, because I said in passing that where I grew up, Fort Augustus, the Great Glen, it's like the place that time forgot. It's different up there, right? And you've got, maybe not so much nowadays, but when I was growing up, quite religious, Scotty. Quite prim and proper. You've got the Free Presbyterian Church and things like that. And listen, we know, like, the more pious on the outside, usually the more deviant behind doors. That sums up Fort Augustus brilliantly, right?
No, I completely understand, because I live in the Bible Belt of America, right?
You get it, dude. You get it more. Dude, I don't need to tell you anything then.
Yeah, exactly. So no, I completely get what you're saying. You know, you're going to have a lot of these fundamentalist religious groups who are going to be like, whoa, no.
Yeah.
This is
and they're hypocrites, Scott. They're hypocrites, right? Because if you spend long enough in the pubs up there, you'll see every single one of these devoutly religious, pious people. absolutely getting mad with it and doing all sorts of things, you know?
Of course. There's much hypocrisy
Yes.
when you're dealing with a lot of these people that
It's the
try to act
currency of most
clear.
religions, I find, is hypocrisy. It underlies most of them.
when they try to act holier than thou, and it's like,
Yeah, you're trying to compensate. We know what you're at. You're getting your. I'm not even going to. So anyway, right? It says here, a spokesman told the Record, our objection is to the proposed use of the property to promote the sex magic with a K and the Thelemic doctrines of Aleister Crowley, which amount to a satanic religion and are associated with the satanic ritual abuse. As such, the promotion of this abusive legacy of a man who styled himself the Great Beast, or the Beast, sorry, presents a danger to the local community and especially to children and vulnerable adults. Now, we believe that this development poses a danger to the local people as it will attract Satanists from across the globe to the quiet and hitherto safe Highland community of Foyers. Now, Foyers is, if you blink, Scott, and I shit you not, if you blink on your way past Foyers, you've missed it. You've literally missed it, dude.
hey, sounds like my hometown.
Yeah, it's gone. What? We passed Foyers? Like, if you don't know where Crowley's house is, good luck finding it. Because I tell you, man, it's like I say, it's an interdimensional tramp's pocket.
Yeah, my hometown. Grain elevator, gas station. You're gone.
Yeah, that's it. Straight through. Gone. That's the best place to be, dude. Off the radar. Keep yourself under the radar, you know? It's got a lot to... I know, like, I love big cities. Always grew up wanting to get to the big city. And sure, the big city's got everything that I thought it would have. But now I'm getting older. I can appreciate what I didn't appreciate back then, if you know what I mean. Quiet,
Exactly.
fresh air, you know?
Same way, like, I'm from, a small town in Texas, Perryton, Texas, just little blip on the, don't even know, Then I moved to a much bigger city, Wichita, Kansas, pretty big city, I like the second largest city in Kansas next to Kansas City, right? Grew up there, lived my teenage life through there, and all that stuff, city life, baby. Fast and furious, all that stuff. And
me and you are too alike, dude. I'm telling you, man, we are so cut from the same cloth.
Yes, I think that's why there's so many synchronicities between us. And then, as I got older, moved out of the city. Now we're just kind of out in the rural area. And no, I think when you're younger, the city life is pretty cool and all, but then as you get older, it really starts to not be as glamorous and as nice as it once was, and you just find yourself wanting to get away from everybody. And
you know what appeals to me the most about it, Scott? I hate this word. I can never say it. Anonymity. I got it. Right?
Oh,
I got it. I hate that word, right? But I mean, growing up, everyone knew everyone, right? An example, just before we get back to the story here. Like, if I messed up in school, I would walk home from school through one field, up a hill, into my house, right? And you can guarantee that my mum would know what I'd done during school that day, if I'd done anything wrong. And on the flip side, if I'd done anything well as well, because the teachers, they all used to congregate in the local pub. Everyone, when they finished work, they would congregate in the local pub. And before you know it, everyone knows everything.
That's how it was when we lived in Texas. My mom worked in the cafeteria at the school I went to. So
nightmare.
It was such a small community. Everybody knew everyone's business, and you know how that is.
Oh, don't I, Scott? Oh, don't I?
Like I said, once we moved to the city, then you had that there was that level of anonymity because there were so many people. You just kind of disappeared in
It's
a
nice
wash.
not,
of
yeah,
population.
everyone not knowing your business, walking past people you don't know their business. That's nice as well.
Yeah, exactly. And so, that's nice for a while, but then it's just, I don't know. There's something about city life that you get your fill of it, and then you want to go back to just getting away from all of that madness,
Yeah.
all of that. And so,
Don't get me wrong. I mean, that small community, everyone's eyes on you. I mean, when I went to join the army, it was like, oh, Kevin's going to join the army. Everyone knew. It was like big news in the village, Scott. But at the same time, it was like, you could tell people were saying, him, the army, he's never going to do that. And that's what got me through, dude. That's what got me through on like those bits where I came close. Oh boy, I remember thinking I could just say I'm going home now and it's all over. And that's who I would hear. I would hear all the bam pots and all the idiots that I know that are still doing things today that they were doing 20 years ago. He'll never do it. What a dick. He'll never do that. So I thank the small village mentality. I thank
there
it.
you go.
Yeah.
See, yeah,
You see, it's got a flip side.
Exactly. It can forge a man.
Yeah, well, it doesn't kill you, it makes you, man. So it goes on to say, it's a great show tonight, Scott, even though it sounds like we're just having a conversation. These are the best ones, right? So it says, we believe that this development poses a danger to local people as it will attract the Satanists. We got that. We believe it is essential that the planning process be used to prevent this ultimate bad neighbour development from blighting this Highland community. That said, like only somebody from the Highlands could say. We believe it is essential that the planning process be used to prevent this ultimate bad neighbour development from blighting this Highland community. And while another local objector claimed her comments on the council's planning portal had been sanitised, with all references to Satanism removed. Dang, they're trying to censor people too. And, oh well, look at this. Okay, now, look. I had somebody telling me that the people that own Bleskin House have never had anything to do with Aleister Crowley. Never had anything to do with it. And I told you a wee while ago, one of them had written a book, but I hadn't quite confirmed it yet, right? There's the dang book.
Oh,
The
there
One
it is.
Truth and One Spirit, written by somebody called Keith Reddy. Well, I think we met Keith earlier on in this.
I think we did meet Keith. Yes, I think Keith was sitting in the window.
Oh yeah, Keith's sitting there looking full of satanic soy and with his little coded message on his piece of slate. I knew I'd get you, punk. So listen, Daily Record, awesome. Not very often I'll give them credit, dude.
No, that was good. That was good. Kudos. What is the full? Okay.
So it's we've got One Truth and One Spirit. Aleister Crowley's spiritual legacy.
Oh,
by Keith Reddy.
No, but he has nothing to do with Aleister Crowley.
Yeah, Kev, you're talking crap. Prove it. Where's the book? Oh, I found the book. So yes, all you haters and detractors out there, you stick with me. I'll take you to the woo. So it says Keith Reddy is the chairman of the Bleskin House Foundation. He recently published the book One Truth and One Spirit, Aleister Crowley's Spiritual Legacy, and claims to have an academic interest in the house. Commenting on the protests on the Agape article, he said, in relation to the article, this was a promotional piece which the now former board trustees of the charity authored in April 2020. As a charity and a not-for-profit group, we seek to raise funds from individuals with an interest in the house. This includes those with an interest in the Frasers of Lovett. Now, I'm pretty sure I'm probably related to the Frasers of Lovett, but Aleister Crowley, Jimmy Page, and even, you ready for this? Outlander fans. Now tell me, you Outlander fans out there, tell me how many of you I've got a craving to go and sleep at Boleskine House because Rory out of Outlander never bloody went anywhere near there. All right? The magic stones are about 25 minutes the other way. Don't let them hoodwink you in. Don't let them do it. No.
Yeah, I was about to say, isn't Outlander, doesn't that involve was it Clava Cairns or whatever?
Scott, after the show, I need to show you, man. See my little presentation I done? I included the video where I go up and touch that magical stone in the program. But because I can use After Effects now, it all kind of merges into a scene from Outlander at the stone. And when she goes back to touch the stone, it comes back to my hand. Dude, it looks like something proper, man. It's pretty cool.
Look at you. Becoming the After Effects
and it is fair use. I mean, it's transformative, right? I mean, come on. The original didn't have Goofy Kev in the middle of it, you know? But anyway, we go on. Oxford University Press have written about Thelema as a new religious movement. And taking their academic stance on this, we as an educational charity will simply educate the public in an academic sense as to what is academically known factually. Blah, blah, blah. Alistair Crowley. We'll be back after the break with more from the beast. Yes. Boleskine House. Cool holiday home. Creepy coven.
Extendivite, a 7 herb.
Oh, the timing's even on today, dude. We're knocking it out the Freaky Friday Park, man. We're on fire.
Exactly. We're firing on all cylinders.
One second.
Okie dokie. Yeah, I'm not buying that this is just some secular foundation that just they just want to read.
You like how we kind of said, no, it's nothing to do with like Thelema, but we're going to be like taking a look at something that Oxford University recognises a new religion, and we'll be looking at that. Well, that's looking at Thelema then, right?
Well, yeah. And,
you can call it an academic approach all you want. Doesn't change what it is.
Yeah, you could tell they're doing all they can to like sugarcoat this and make it as palatable as possible for anybody, you know. Oh, we're just doing this because, you know, people might be interested in it. There's a lot of people out there who you know, Outlander fans, even though it has nothing to do with the location whatsoever. And
well, let's ask the ladies in the chat. Hey, Lee Veltman. Hey, we don't do plans around here. We don't do plans. Dude, this is literally the biggest distraction on YouTube. We admit it, though. We take people away from the weirdness out there. But the
all
ladies,
I gotta say,
when you go, Scott.
all I gotta say is, how's that plan going?
Well, that plan's going real well right now, right? Whoo! Hey, dang, dude. Shh, indeedy. So, to you ladies that watch Outlander, is there many scenes at Boleskine House? I'm being honest, because that's what these guys are trying to, like, cash in on. I mean, I've watched one episode of it. It's more a girly show. I get it.
Yeah.
I've taken girlfriends to the Highlands. Scott, the fresh air up there, it is like an aphrodisiac. I don't know what happens to them, whether it's surrounded by that accent. I don't know what's going on. But women watch that program and they... getting hot in here. You know what I'm saying, man?
Yeah.
Who knew men in skirts could do that to women?
Hey, given Crowley's reputation for the hedonistic lifestyle, maybe he recognized that effect that the Highlands had as well.
Damn, dude. Oh, the woo's getting connected tonight. I'm liking it.
Remember? I mean, if he's over there having...
I just think it's hilarious that we found that guy's book so easily. And I had people saying that they're nothing to do with it, Kev. You're talking crap.
Yeah. Well, hey, props to the Daily Record for just hammering that one out and putting that one to rest.
I'm very slow to compliment them or pay them praise, give them credit for anything. But yeah. When it comes to this, they've got Crowley nailed, dude.
Hey, sometimes you get a.
They're not good to my soccer team. They're not nice to my soccer team. That's all I'm gonna say.
Sometimes you get a nugget of gold out of a bag of coal.
Hey, big shout out to my stepdad, Frank. Franco loves Outlander. Franco, I hope Rory doesn't do anything for you. I hope now, Frank. There we go. We're back. We're live. And wow, this is developing into one of those Freaky Fridays. Scotty Lopez, how you doing, man? Halfway through.
Yeah. We are. Wow. Time's flying, dude.
Isn't
Feels
it?
like we've entered a portal. We're starting to get missing time here, man.
Next, we'll be getting that staticky feeling all around us. Scott, there'll be mist falling outside the house, and you know it. That veil's it's opening up, man.
Hey, as long as I don't pull a Philadelphia experiment, end up, reformulating, embedded in a wall or something, I'll be fine.
Yeah, not good. I sometimes wonder when we're looking at this streaming software if there's some kind of like glitching in and out of this reality going on. I don't really know what quite effect I was going for there, but it's good disturbing. Talking of good disturbing, we're talking about Boleskine House, Aleister Crowley, and all the good stuff today. Ever since the two fires really brought that place down to the ground, and I had my unfortunate paranormal activity / life event that happened after visiting there, after being an absolute doofus. All the shows I've done, telling people, be careful now, you got to know what you're doing. And there's me, my brother, and Big Greg, right in there, balls to the wall, straight in, come and get us. Not good, not good. But that's the lore of Boleskine House, and you might think, well, there's not anything new to talk about, but there is. Because now we're starting to see news coming out and confirming some of the things we had speculated about before, reconfirming some of the early information that they seem to have removed from all of their websites, because me and Scott remembers it. I remember talking about how they were going to do workshops for the local people. Yeah, there would be like occult festivals and holidays would be marked with ceremony and song and dance and orgies.
I think that they realized that was not very good PR for them, and that they needed to pivot and kind of sugarcoat this and make this a little more palatable if they wanted to succeed in whatever they're trying to do out there. So,
you know what's happened? They've probably gone up to the area for a weekend. They've realized that when people get drunk up there, oh man, do they know how to party? And it looks a little bit hedonistic at times. That you could get a false impression. But then they've probably thought, well, if the place is like that, we can be open about what we're doing here, right? But then they got that deeper appreciation for the double standards of some Highland people. It's all right for them to do all that shenanigans on the weekend and with people they know and that. But don't be trying to do it in the area. That's ungodly. Don't you incomers be trying to do that.
Don't be bringing people in on the shenanigans.
Exactly. We keep that stuff to ourselves up here. Come on, man. And still too soon.
This is a local affair.
It'll always be too soon. So if we go on here, it says, and he added that the restoration of Boleskine House is an important conservation project for a building which is Category B listed. And our sole focus is to restore the Grade B listed structure as a heritage project so as to promote the ethos of conservation of listed buildings. And it's understood Highland Council will discuss the application at its next meeting in December. And what it doesn't tell you there is that the next meeting will be held at the Grand Lodge of the OTO. I'm only joking. Yeah, that's the end of it though, Scott. That's as far as it goes, but there's that book. And I'm going to try and get that book. One Truth and One Spirit. The Aleister Crowley Spiritual Legacy. Holy shamoly.
interesting to see what this dude's take on it is, and it'll give you a little more insight into what his intention is on restoring the site. I think reading the book would probably give you a good idea of kind of his thought process and where his headspace is right now with
when
all
he's in
of
the
this.
book recreating the photographs of him and covering his eye up and telling people to do what thou wilt, because that is the whole of the law. Hey, dude, it's spooky stuff. What can I say? So, Scott,
It is.
back to you for some of your creepy woo now. Let's go back to the Kansas woo meister. I like that, dude.
The Kansas.
You're like the
Woo-meister.
grandpappy of the Lodge of Woo, Kansas division. I like that, man. Yeah, I like it, man. I've got the Glasgow division going on over here. We're cool. We're good.
Well, since we were talking about Loch Ness and Nessie, I think this would be a good segue into some cryptids. And I came across this page on Legends of America, and it's got an entire list of these.
Send me her through, Scott. Link me up, man. Link me up.
Right.
This is sounding good.
And it's got a huge list of cryptids here in the United States. And a lot of these I haven't heard of. Some of them I have. But a lot of them I haven't. So we started kind of getting into some of them on the Halloween episode of Freaky Friday. I think we talked about the Alta Mama or Maha.
That's one name you can't forget. Yep.
That's a tough one to say too.
Rather you
so
than
we
me,
talked-
Scott. That's all I can say. I'm glad you got that one and not me. People would have been still trying to work out what the hell I was talking about.
Yeah, it's one of them crazy Southern native sort of mix words that it gets wild down there. Which was kind of like the Nessie of the Altamaha River down in Georgia. I remember Kev was very triggered because they said it had a sturgeon-like body. But
You reminded me on yeah. Talking of cryptids.
So we'll go through some of these here and see if we've heard about them. If we heard about them, we'll just kind of skip over them, and if not, we'll get into them. So next on the list is the Banshee of the Badlands in South Dakota.
We have to go for it, dude. I've never heard of this one, man.
I don't think I've ever heard of this one either.
We've talked Banshees before, but not like a specific one, I don't think. Oh, we're going to Dakota as well. Would that be the Anishinaabe people in that area?
Maybe. I mean, there's a lot of different tribes up in that area. I'm thinking more like the Lakota tribe, possibly.
Look at the picture of the Banshee, man.
Ooh, yeah.
That's
Definitely not
so good.
want to be dealing with. All right, so it says, "Hell with the fires out" is what the Badlands of Dakota has been called. The fearless Western nomenclature fits the place. It is an ancient sea bottom with its clay strata worn by frost and flood into forms like pagodas, pyramids, and terraced cities. Labyrinth canyons wind along these fantastic peaks, which are brilliant in color, but bleak, savage, and oppressive. Game courses over the castellated hills, rattlesnakes bask at the edge of the crater above burning coal seams, and wild men have made a despairing stand here against advancing civilization. It may have been the white victim of the natives' jealousy that haunts the region of the butte called Watchdog, or it may have been a native woman who was killed there. But there is a banshee in the desert who cries have chilled the blood that would not have cooled at the sight of a bear or panther. By moonlight, when the scenery is most suggestive and unearthly, and the noises of wolves and owls inspire uneasy feelings, the ghost is seen on a hill a mile south of the watchdog, her hair blowing, her arms tossing in strange gestures. If war parties, immigrants, cowboys, hunters, any who for good or ill are going through this country, pass the haunted butte at night, the rocks are lighted with phosphor flashes, and the banshee sweeps upon them, as if wishing to speak, or as if wailing a question that it has occurred to none to ask. She stands beside them in an attitude of appeal, but if asked what she wants, she flings her arms aloft, and with a shriek that echoes through the blasted gulches for a mile, she disappears, and an instant later is seen wringing her hands on her hilltop. Cattle will not graze near the haunted butte, and the cowboys keep aloof from it, for the word has never been spoken that will solve the mystery of the region or quiet the unhappy banshee. The creature has a companion, sometimes in an unfleshed skeleton.
That just sounds terrifying. An unfleshed skeleton. I mean, a skeleton's bad, but an unfleshed? I mean, it goes without saying that a skeleton, by definition, has no flesh, but to describe it as unfleshed.
Is it like a skeleton that is like still has some flesh attached to it, like dripping,
like the Walking Dead, man. I've got like pictures of Walking Dead type stuff going on here, dude.
That's what I'm kind of getting a vibe of when I hear that. Mm.
And still, I can't shift that picture of the ugliest cryptid of them all, the sturgeon. It all fits. It all fits.
So she has this unfleshed, horrific skeleton that accompanies her. Apparently, it says that drudges about the ash and clay and haunts the camps in search for music. Interesting.
No, turn the music down. Got attracting those bloody banshees again, Scott.
If he hears it, he will sit outside the door and nod in time to it, while a violin left within his reach is eagerly seized and will be played on through half the night. The music is wondrous, now as soft as the stir of the wind in the sage, anon as harsh as the cry of a wolf, or as startling as the stir of a rattler. As the east begins to brighten, the music grows fainter, and when it is fairly light, it has ceased altogether. But he who listens to it must on no account follow the player if the skeleton moves away, for not only will it lead him into rocky pitfalls, whence escape is hopeless, but when there the music will intoxicate, madden, and will finally charm his soul from his body. Ooh.
You start using worldy words like whence and stuff like that, Scott. It adds to it, does it not?
I know whoever's putting these together on Legends of America do a really good job.
I like
writing.
it. We'll go back. What was the next? I'll take the next one then. The Bear Lake Sea Monster in Utah. Yeah, we'll go for that.
Yeah.
So here we go. We've got straddling the Utah-Idaho border in the upper northeastern corner of Utah is beautiful Bear Lake. Now, in addition to its wonderful sporting opportunities for boaters, skiers, and fishermen, Bear Lake allegedly is called home to a sea monster Well, surely it should be a lake monster if it's technically a Bear Lake and it's not a. I know semantics, tomatoes, tomatoes. As a man that grew up beside Loch Ness, we like to get the terminology just right. Said to resemble a huge brown snake, nearly 90 feet long. The legend has been around from the days when only Indians inhabited this area, or you could call them Native Americans, since there's nothing. Yeah, let's not get in. When white settlers came to the valley, the Shoshone Indians. Right, Scott, come on, is it Shoshone? Shoshone?
Shoshone.
Shoshone? I was nearly there. I'm culturally inappropriate on a daily basis. Don't worry about it. Inhabiting the area told of how the creature had often captured and carried away people. Now, their description of the animal sounded much like a large crocodile or a mythical dragon. Now, according to the many who have spied the serpent, it has a thin head, a large mouth, and small legs that it utilizes to move swiftly through the water. So let's think about that, Scott. We've got the serpent, a thin head, large mouth, long legs, and it swims through the water. It's definitely, it's got that reptilian type feel to it, but at the same time, it's got that plesiosaur type feel to it that Nessie has as well, with the wee stumpy kind of legs and flippers and things.
Yeah, that long body, long neck, short kind of stumpy legs, and then
it's quite interesting as well, right? Because talks about how the Shoshone tribe were the people who were talking about this right back in the day. And you go to Loch Ness, and we've got the Picts who were in the area back in the 6th century AD. And we hear about St. Columba coming over, telling us, a great monster in there. But we showed a stone. I think it was one of the Freaky Fridays. I'll dig it up in a moment. But this was a Pictish carving that looked like it had some kind of serpent on it. It was definitely serpentine, right? Because it had the winding, long body. And you could look at it one way where it might have been up out of the water and humps. And point being, there's two, native indigenous people to areas at their own time with lore, with story of what sounds like a pretty similar monster, Scott. Just saying.
Hey, Big Donnie in the chat said it sounds like what he saw.
Big Donnie is our Aboriginal friend. He's always out in the bush. So that to me sounds like a bunyip, Scott. We've got somebody that's literally come into contact with a bunyip. Yep.
Hey, probably. I if anybody was to come across a bunyip, I bet it would be Donnie.
Speaking
No
of
doubt.
Donnie's, I don't know, it's like speaking to an ancestor, dude. It's weird. It's kind of uncanny for me. It's like a familiarity there. I've told Jess, and I think she's told Luna and Donnie. It's weird, but it's almost like I know that, dude. Anyway, that's for another woo session altogether. But good shout, Donnie. Good shout. Only Australian Scott could encounter a bunyip and then just throw it into a conversation like it was an everyday thing,
Yeah, just casually come across a bunyip,
Yeah, I was like the bunyip I stumbled across a couple of weeks ago, and I was way to get my beers, Come on, boys. Deal with it. So it says the slithering snake-like creature has also been described as spouting water upwards from its mouth and moving so fast through the lake that it leaves a wake behind, much like a boat. Others have said that they have seen the monster crawl up onto the beach with short, flipper-like legs. Now, once upon the sand, it holds its head high and turning it from side to side as if looking about. Though many believe the monster to be nothing more than a legend, there has been some scientific research made into his actual existence. Now, findings theorize the creature could be a descendant of a dinosaur-like creature or sea lizard from the time when Lake Bonneville covered the entirety of this great basin. And in the summer of 1871, a local citizen who was said to have actually captured a young member of the monster family near Fish Haven This report evidently had some credibility, as it was reported in the Salt Lake City Herald. Quote,
Interesting.
yeah, exactly. This latter-day wonder is said to be about 20 feet in length, with a mouth sufficiently large to swallow a man without any difficulty, and is propelled through the water by the action of its tails and legs. Now, the citizen, a fisherman, had actually set a large trap, made especially for the purpose of trying to capture one of the beasts. As to what happened to the captured creature, no one seems to know. And if the legend of the sea monster itself is not enough, another legend tells that even the mythical Pecos Bill, the king of tall tales, once wrested a sea monster and a fight that lasted for several days. Does Bear Lake actually hold? Why does it keep calling it a sea monster? It's lake monster. The debate rages on around the campfires, but in any event, an excursion to this beautiful lake, often called the Caribbean of the Rockies, will provide a great summer adventure. I've not heard of that one of those, Scotty. If we have, it's gone out my mind.
Nah, yeah, I haven't heard of that one. That's interesting.
I can see one. You're next, but it's lucky dip from here, Scott. You're next.
So we got, was it the Beast of Bray Road in Wisconsin?
Nice.
I've never heard of this one. I guess we'll. Ooh, a hairy humanoid.
Looks like we're talking. Now we're going full woo, my friend. We're coming up for hour number 3, and we're going full woo.
I told you this was like a cryptid gold mine. When I came across this page, I was like, oh boy, here we go. So, all right, let's see what's up with the Beast of Bray Road in Wisconsin. It says a hairy humanoid with canine features. The Beast of Bray Road has been sighted in Wisconsin dating back to 1936 on a rural road outside of Elkhorn, Wisconsin. More recent sightings in the 1980s and 90s placed the creature in Racine, Walworth, and Jefferson counties. Those who have seen the beast describe him as eating or hunting and scavenging. Also known as man-wolf, bear-wolf, and
Al Gore.
indigenous man-bear-pig. It is said to be around 6 feet tall with gray and brown fur. Its face resembles that of a wolf, with shiny yellow eyes and pointed ears. Its body, though furry, looks like that of a muscular man. The creature is said to run and walk on all 4 of its legs, or just its hind legs, and has been spied sitting on its haunches and kneeling like a man.
Excuse me, it's man.
Yes, indeed. Some people believe it is a werewolf, others that it is a Bigfoot, and some believe that it is a yet unidentified species. Though it has never attacked anyone, some witnesses claim that it has acted aggressively, running at them and jumping on their vehicles. Some research considered the Beast of Bray Road to be identical to a kind of Wisconsin Bigfoot that locals call the Bluff Monster or the Eddie. Others, including many natives, believe it to be the Wendigo, which has often been spied in Minnesota. Others believe that it has simply been misidentified and is a wolf, or a bear, or a large feral dog.
There's a bit of a difference between a bear or a feral dog. I mean, I'm not living in an area where there's many bears, but I'd like to think I could distinguish between the two, Scott, you know?
I've never seen a bear with a wolf head and a hairy, muscular man body.
Not in 1,400 episodes of KBS and about 300 of Freaky Friday have we ever encountered that.
I mean, I'm at the point now to where I consider myself such a cryptid aficionado that I don't even think you could misidentify that for a Bigfoot.
No, no. Doesn't have any of the hallmarks or common traits of said Sasquatch.
No. That's not a misidentified
Are we
Sasquatch.
like qualified? Are we self-declared qualified crypto-woologists, Scott?
So
Yeah.
I think we've reached that point to
I
where
like it, man.
we could see. Yeah, exactly. So it says this werewolf-like creature has been portrayed regularly in the media since the first sightings and even had a low-budget movie based on its legend. The number of sightings in the late 1980s and early 1990s prompted a local newspaper, the Walworth County Week, to assign reporter Linda Godfrey to cover the story. Initially, she was skeptical, but soon became convinced of its authenticity and later wrote a book titled The Beast of Bray Road, Tailing Wisconsin's Werewolf. Wow. So there we go. We'll leave it there before we go to break. And
1 hour to go, man.
we'll dig into some more when we get back. Or we also got other woo out there that Kev brought to the table as well. So maybe we can intersperse some of that.
Yeah, when we come back, we'll throw something else in, and then we're going back to that website. Because that is like some really decent woo going on right there, dude. Right there. So, listen, talking to right there, stay right here. We'll be back after the break. And then right after Freaky Friday, Brent Thomas, he's going to dial up the woo even higher. All here on TFRlive.com. We'll be right back. There you go. We're right back. See, we're right back. Just like that. Big shout out to Lisa in the chat room. Lisa, it is
Excuse me, it's ma'am.
Wolf ma'am. Yes, indeed. Good to see you, Lisa. Look at that. That is a fine selection of shoes you have in the chat room. Many of those shoes Anne has already thrown at me. Yes, it's been a while since I've been shooed live on air, isn't it? Yeah.
Hey?
I've been behaving, man. Not good. I was
Good man.
watching A Good Thing the other night, Scott. Kill a bit of time before we go back. New series of Unexplained Mysteries on Netflix. Well, this was an Unexplained Mysteries where really it was a bit out of the norm because they were over in Japan and they were talking about, this is weird, dude, the ghosts of the tsunami.
Oh.
Taxi drivers picking people up, middle of summer. They look like they're like, some of them looking wet, some of them not appropriately clothed. They go driving, and then by the time they get to the destination, nobody in the taxi. And there was these various stories, Scott, about how people driving along would come across maybe 3-4 people just stood there dripping wet, asking like if they could get help because they're trying to find their way home, but everything looks different. And the woman said, you know, this has been a thing ever since the tsunami, and it's almost like because it was so sudden, because they were here 1 minute into the next world, that they don't even know what's happened to them, many of them, you know?
You know, that's a very interesting thing. Like, I never thought about the amount of hauntings that might be going on because of that. I mean, because there were a lot of lives lost.
Thousands still not ever found.
Thousands and thousands of people. And that was a sudden, catastrophic, horrific incident that was extremely traumatic. And you've got to think the amount of like spiritual energy or just even emotional energy that was all released at one time during that singular event. Dude, there has probably got to be a lot of crazy paranormal activity occurring around those regions where that tsunami came in.
They went and spoke to a monk, a 26th generation monk. Like, 26th generation have been brought up in this temple, and the guy was talking about how in the months afterwards, he really didn't know if he was talking to the living or the dead. Because there was as many people that crossed over coming to him. Weird, dude.
If I was to take anyone's word seriously, I would probably put a little validity on a 20. What was it?
26th generation Taoist monk or something.
Yeah, I mean,
Crazy, man.
those dudes have no reason to lie and make stuff up. Yeah, wow.
A different culture over there as well. When you are deleted for whatever reason, you go on. You're not gone. You just go through one door into the next realm, and you can see each other from time to time in each realm. And oh man, Unexplained Mysteries, very interesting. Here we go. Time to come back. Yeah. There we go. We're back. We're live. It's hour number 3. Can't believe it already on today's Freaky Friday. I thought it would take some doing topping last week's Woo extravaganza for Halloween. But it's 2020. The shows are off the charts this year, dude. That website you found, Scott, Legends of America, absolute classic. Classic, my friend. I love it.
Yes. I knew once I started digging into that. You remember how excited I was, frantically messaging you. I'm like, this site is a gold mine, Kev. We've got content for the next couple of Freaky Fridays. So.
Easy, dude, easy. And I'm gonna dip my toe back in there in a moment. But during the break, we were talking ghosties, right? And we were talking about major kind of cataclysmic events, and you can think of Japan. Maybe the tsunami in Sumatra, that one back on Boxing Day. Can't remember the name, the year of it. It escapes me. But we're talking about...
It was in 2004, I believe it happened.
Was it? Yeah, we're talking about mass loss or mass deletions that happen all of a sudden. And we were talking about a TV show called Unexplained Mysteries. It's on Netflix, and they deal with what's been happening in Japan post-tsunami. And like Scott said to me during the break, it's something I'd never thought of either, Scott. You know, you think of what happened there and the tragedy, the horrendous things. That scenes of that wall of water's burned on my mind, like many of us. But we'd never paused to think about the paranormal, supernatural aspect of it, right? And seemingly, it's off the charts. Crazy.
Yeah. I mean, the amount of emotional energy and spiritual energy that was released in that one moment, of cataclysm, of disaster, and all of the people who were taken, taken from us at that particular moment. I mean, that has got to be a hotbed of paranormal activity. I mean, you would think, just on face value, that is a prime candidate for imprinting spiritual activity or opening something to that in that entire area, especially along those coastal towns that were just completely wiped out.
That's one of the places it deals with, and think about it. It's very rare that you can really get documented, verifiable paranormal events like catalogued. But in Japan, we've had umpteen instances of taxi drivers been flagged down, picking people up. Only one problem: when they get to their destination, poof, they're in the car themselves. And like I say, that's documented. Because the taxi drivers, they end up having to basically pay the fee. And it was talking about how, because so many people lost somebody, that they just accept it, Scott. Because it's almost like it's their way of viewing the deleted. Their view of the afterlife. It kind of differs from us over here. Death is the end of nothing. Just the start of level 2. You go through one sliding door into another realm, and in some way, it seems that these ghost taxis, as they call them, and people getting in and not being there. And it shows you one guy freaked right out, he ran away from his car and everything. But they've almost come to accept it, and it brings many of them comfort. It's really strange, man.
Because I guess in a way it confirms to them that there is something after, afterlife. That there is an afterlife, and I don't know. The Japanese kind of spiritual view on things is very interesting, and I'm not like an expert into knowing like
Same
their
here.
whole religious thing, but I know that they believe that everything is imbued with some kind of spirit, even inanimate objects. You know, um, that's why in Japan you see this fascination with people like keeping robots, like dog robots, and treating them as a living being, because in their culture they believe that inanimate object, that robot dog, actually has a spirit tied to it, and that you're to treat it with respect as any other living being. Um, and so that's why you see a lot of their, what we would consider bizarre kind of views towards like robotoids and things like that and technology. It's just very interesting. And like I said, I'm not an expert in any of their religious practices or how they view things, but that's what I've gathered from the little bit that I've looked into. And so it explains a lot of the what we would consider really kind of bizarre sort of things that they do over there. But I don't know, man. That whole tsunami thing, yeah, I never really thought about that from a paranormal aspect. I
Same
mean,
here.
just the initial shock of just the absolute, you know, horrific nature of what happened, and all of the people that were taken. But yeah, that has got to be a hotbed of paranormal activity. I would not doubt that at all.
Big time, big
That's
time, dude.
yeah.
And because it's been Halloween and everything else, I've been kind of diving down the paranormal, high strangeness rabbit hole. Most haunted. It's got a bit of a bad reputation because years ago they got caught kind of making things up to satisfy network demands and try and get more seasons added. In the past, I was watching them again on their Halloween special, and I'm going to be showing Scott after today's show when we get all off air and really copyrighted. That's why I'll be showing them privately. But it's some of the most phenomenal poltergeist activity that they've been capturing. And they were talking about how when they go to these old properties, you often hear about the lady on the stairs, Scott. The stereotypical, the headless nun or something going up and down the stairs. And they started talking about something that I thought might make a good kind of conversation piece for tonight. Because we're talking about people on the other side there in Japan a moment ago. And not your typical kind of hauntings that get reported if you go and watch that episode of Unexplained Mysteries. But a lot of our hauntings over here, when you do have these almost like replays, it does the same thing all the time. It'll walk up and down a corridor, or it'll only appear in one place. And what they were talking about was various ideas, and one thing that came up, and something that we've kind of talked about without having the scientific name for it. And they call it stone tape. Now, hang on. The stone tape theory is the speculation that ghosts and hauntings are analogous to tape recordings, and that mental impressions during emotional or traumatic events can be projected in the form of energy, recorded onto rocks and other items, and replayed under certain conditions. Now, the idea draws inspiration and shares similarities with the views of 19th century intellectualists and psychic researchers such as Charles Babbage, Eleanor Sidgwick, and Edmund Gurney. Now, contemporarily, hate that word, the concept was popularized by a 1972 Christmas ghost story called The Stone Tape, produced by the BBC. Now, following the play's popularity, the idea and the term stone tape were retrospectively and inaccurately attributed to the British archaeologist turned parapsychologist T.C. Lethbridge, who believed that ghosts were not spirits of the deceased, but were simply non-interactive recordings similar to a movie. Well, I like that.
Very-
Non-interactive recordings similar to a movie. Now, this is comfortable in many ways, right? Because, for argument's sake, right? You live in a haunted home, and Great Granny said to wander the East Wing, right? A horrible, horrible, depressing thought. Somebody that you once knew and loved, you know, it's just stuck in a corridor. But from now until time evermore, just walking up and down a corridor. What kind of existence would that be for you in the afterlife? But this, Scott, this is almost like, well, that's not really Granny or Great Granny. It's just an impression that they left. It's just what was recorded in the stone. And they have gone on to the afterlife. They have gone to the light. They've gone to wherever you think they go. I like this idea. And I like it because we talk about stones a lot, dude. A lot. And it might just look like a simple rock, a simple stone. But due to the way they're made up, be it crystalline and everything else, there is a potential that we're looking at something almost technological, even if we don't recognize it, you know?
Oh, no doubt. And I definitely think this is one of the things that can explain a lot of paranormal phenomenon. I don't chalk, like all ghosts to one particular.
No, same here, dude.
But I think that this is definitely one of them. I think that there's different types of hauntings or ghosts, and I think this one is like, what we've talked about before, the replay that's imprinted in the stone or the ground or whatever the surrounding area where you had that. You look, I mean, if you talk about, we'll just use the example, like you said, like Granny, who is always spotted in the, this part of the house or whatever. Humans tend to stick to routines, right? They walk the same areas daily. They get up at the same time. They go through their daily routine, and they're replaying the same thing over and over and over again daily. You're doing the same things daily, and you got to think that would probably imprint itself somewhere, somehow, right? And that would be recorded in a way. And I think a lot of it also has to do with like where you're located, the type of rock that surrounds you, your location. This goes back to what we were talking about earlier with Crowley's stuff. Like, why did he choose that particular location, right? If your house is located in an area where this recording or imprint phenomenon can occur much easily, much more, then probably your house will end up being one of these
well, let me ask you then, Scott. Let me ask you this, right? Just dawned on me there. What could be different about Boleskine House, the Highlands, for example? I've often talked about and I laugh about, we grew up with 3 TV channels, but the rest of the UK had 4. And we used to get told, oh, Channel 4 this, Channel 4 that. But we were told, you guys can't get it. You're like surrounded by these hills on all sides and you're like a black spot. Now, stay with me, Scotty, right? We all produce electromagnetic energy ourselves. That's what's recorded into the stone, for example, in stone tape. If there's a quietening of all other electromagnetic energies in an area, i.e. you've got hills protecting you from outside signals, things like that, are you almost looking at, look, I'm not saying, but the D-wave, it's that cold and everything else, so you get that quantum effect. It's no observer. i.e., no electromagnetic interference or decoherence happens, right? So, are you looking at an area perhaps where either our brains are able to get a couple of seconds longer, which puts us into some kind of quantum state, which puts us in this world and the next? Is the other world closer there because there's no other interference?
No, you're. I think you're onto something. You know, you choose a location to where there isn't as much interference, and you have a more, I guess, what you could call quiet signal.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and whatever you're doing is not being interfered by any kind of outside influence. So maybe Crowley realized that when he went there, that it allowed that there wasn't as much what would you call it, like electromagnetic pollution.
Yeah. For lack of a better term, people say, but if he was up there in the 1800s, early 1900s, no, I get that, absolutely, but I'm just looking for something that's different about it, you know?
Yeah, but it's probably something that they realize, that it just provided the perfect environment for doing what he was going to do, and so no, I think that there's something to that. I would agree with you on that.
You see, that's the difference between people on YouTube and unqualified crypto wooologists. We'll give you hypotheses that can never be tested. How we roll on here. What we do. We deal in grade A woo and speculation, don't we?
Yes. Look, Speculation Island is starting to develop into there's skyscrapers being built on Speculation Island right now.
No longer just an idea, it's a way of life, Scott. You have to believe.
It's becoming its own autonomous zone.
Oh, now you went and ruined it. All I can picture is Chop or Chaz or Stone Tape Theory, that's right. So just a little bit more about this, and then we'll go back into Scotty's absolute treasure trove of cryptid woo. I love that website. That's up there with my good friend Lon. Remember, check out phantomsandmonsters.com. And if you can't get enough of the old KBS here, I will be on Arcane Radio on the 11th of December to talk about all things Highland and Haunted. Damn, that's a good name for a show, that. I should have thought of that one sooner. So the idea that environmental elements are capable of storing traces of human thoughts or emotions was introduced by multiple 19th century scholars and philosophers as an attempt to provide natural explanations for supernatural phenomenon. I don't think you can really have a natural explanation for something that's supernatural, but that's just me. In 1837, the polymath Charles Babbage published a work on natural theology called the Ninth Bridgewater Treatise. Now, Babbage speculated that spoken words leave permanent impressions in the air, even though they become audible after time. Scotty Lopez just finished this here. He suggested it's possible to transfer, or due to transfer of motion between particles. So we speak, Scott, and we leave almost these spoken words leave a permanent impression in the air. We're dealing with vibration. We're dealing with frequency. I'm liking this whole thing, man. I'm liking where we're going with this thing.
I'm liking it too. I mean, if you say something, you're putting it out there, and it's going to be out there.
And if you break a word down, what do? You spell it. Spelling.
Yeah.
So you're literally, every word, it's like a little magical spell, right?
And what is our air? What is the air that surrounds this wonderful little marble that we're floating on? Floating through space on. What is air loaded with? Water vapor. and you look at the experiments of was it Miyamoto? Was that his name?
Minimoto, Inamoto. Who cares? It's
Minamoto.
definitely Moto. It's definitely Moto.
It's-
We'll call him Mr. Moto.
Hello, Moto. Uh, yeah, yes. His experiments were he was freezing water, right? And playing different things and was basically proving that water, you could imprint stuff into water, imprint intent and emotions and things like that, where the water crystals that had positive sort of intent came out, when they froze. It was beautiful sort of crystalline,
Perfectly symmetrical snowflakes and things, wasn't it?
the snowflakes, and then the water that had negative intent and basically bad vibes projected onto it. The crystals were all asymmetrical and kind of nasty looking, and it was all fragmented and stuff like that. So I think from that standpoint, when you're speaking and when you're saying something, right, I think you're imprinting, going to what you were talking about here with the stone tape and what this Babbage was talking about your words being imprinted into the air forever. Yeah, I think that whatever water vapor is located around you and is exposed to the vibration of what you're saying, your voice, it's going to be imprinted in the air. Yeah, I think so.
Yep, I'm liking it, man. And then you add to that the crystalline kind of quality of stone. Yep. So it says the stone tape theory could also be derived from the concept of place memory. Now, in the early days of the Society for Psychical, what's that? Psychical research, place memory was considered an explanation for ghostly apparitions seemingly connected with certain places. Now, in the 19th century, two of the SPR involved investigators, Edmund Gurney and Eleanor Sidwick, presented views about certain buildings or materials being capable of storing records of past events which can later be played back by gifted individuals. And another 19th century idea associated with stone tape theory is psychometry, a belief that it is possible to obtain knowledge in history associated with an object through physical contact with it. Now, I think that can be possible if you are, if you've got that about you. And I think we can all do these things, folks. I just think some people are more inclined, more set up. Some people are better than others. It's like anything else, Scotty, right? But I think our brains are capable of a smorgasbord of different things. And some people are good at that, you know?
Yeah, and they were literally researching back then in the 19th century what we speculate and are talking about today, right? We talk about knowledge and information being imprinted in the stone, and I think a good example of this that I always like to bring up are these individuals who talk about touching, the stone at stones at like a megalithic site, right? Or like at the pyramid or one of these, Stonehenge or something like that. And then they say that they felt like that they received a download.
Yep.
Is that the information that was encoded in that rock, embedded in the crystalline structure of these rocks that were used to build these megalithic sites? And, if you get the person who, like it said right there, right, they believed it was only kind of like gifted individuals who may Maybe they just have that ability to resonate with it. Maybe their frequencies kind of match up and they're able to kind of make that connection. But there's certain individuals who have this ability to where they can touch that rock and receive that download of information that's been stored in it. So, yeah, I definitely believe that there's something like that. And Donnie in the chat, you know, the Chiringa stone, same thing. There's information, and there's something embedded in the stone. There's some kind of something is encoded in it, and I think to an extent all stone kind of has that ability to do it. You know, obviously some stone is better than others depending on the quartz, you know, the
Scott,
crystalline structure of the stone.
This is why I was hoping, because I'd found a clip for yesterday's show, right? And I thought Thursday, Scotty will be there. And we often, right, people are going to laugh, right? We talk about rocks, we talk about stones, we talk about mountains, and we do. We ask the questions, is there more to what's going on here with just a rock, right? Played a video yesterday. It's from DJ. Now, DJ, probably most people will remember her for brilliant work talking about AI, D-Wave, quantum computers, and Jade Helm, right? Well, she put a video out the other day talking about the simulation. Now, bear with me, because she put a video together talking about how many times in the Bible it talks about really weird stuff, i.e. burning bushes, and also the many amazing things that is associated with a rock. You can talk to a rock, you can go into the rock, you can come out of the rock. Is there something about rocks that we're missing, and it's even encoded into the Bible? We'll come back on the other side. Don't go anywhere.
What is it good?
There we go. There we go.
Oh.
Yeah, I played the video last night because we weren't like simulcasting, and I'll try and find it now and I'll link it up in the chat room for people. But it was a really, really interesting kind of take, and it really got me thinking. Of course, there's an advert. Rid of the advert first.
The multitude.
Okay, listen to a little bit of this.
You clicked on this video because you're interested in what the Bible has to say about this, either because you know the Bible has accurately predicted the future multiple times, or you believe in some or all of the Bible stories. Maybe you believe those stories because you've had supernatural experiences yourself. In any case, let's look at some scriptures that seem to indicate that we live in a simulated type reality, something like a controlled dream. Aside from the obvious points that you've already heard, such as Moses parting the Red Sea, causing all manner of plagues in Egypt, talking to a desert rock, consequently causing water to pour out of it, and hearing a voice from a bush that seemed to be burning but wasn't, there are also some lesser-known, peculiar bits of information in the Bible. For example, did you know that a rock also produced fire in Judges 6 and poured out rivers of oil in Job?
So there's a little example. Rocks that produce fire, rocks that pour out rivers of oil. It talks about going into the rock, and people will say that it's a cave. But DJ points out that the Hebrew has a word for cave that's used many times in the Bible, so why not just use the word cave again? So, I don't know, dude, it's like really, really weird. Really weird. But the whole rock thing, I think it's technology that's all around us and we've got no bloody idea how to use it.
Yeah. Very interesting.
I'll drop that link for people in the chat room so they can go and check that out themselves. Again, I'm not saying, folks, that it means anything, but it definitely is something going on.
It's just another weird kind of thing to think about, right? It's just
Very. Yeah, so there we go. Moses' rod makes water pour out of a rock. Angel's staff causes rock to produce fire and cook food. Rock pours out river of oil, enter into the rock. let the inhabitants of the rock, the clefts of the rock, has the secret place of the stairs. It's almost, at one point as well, it talks about how the rock, it might be a doorway in and out of the Matrix, which is also mentioned in the Bible. But, hey, again, Scott, it just, like I say, I thought last night, Scott's going to love this, because we talk about stone woo all the time. Stone woo.
Yes, and if there's enough PPP, it's stoned woo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like that, yes. I like that. Yeah, I got to see. They took me a little. See, I'm trying to look at the timer for the studio here and try to think where we're going next. We're going to have a little bit more stone tape theory. Just finish that a little bit off, and then Scott's going to take us back into the cryptids. How's that sound, dude?
Sounds good.
Yeah, and then we can go for a bit of Egyptian, ancient, modern day creepy woo to take us out. Ah, it's all going on.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
And for anyone out there who hasn't watched the new documentary on Netflix about Saqqara and the excavation of the necropolis there, oh, you have to do so. And if you love cats, you doubly have to do so. So here we go. That's your little teaser. Welcome back, ladies, gentlemen, interdimensional creepers, time travelers, lurkers, men, women, 150 other designations I can't quite put my finger on. Ghosts, ghouls, goblins, demons, banshees, bunyips, nessies. I don't know who's all here listening to this broadcast on this timeline and in the next, because that's because we're one of the abnormal paranormal, or the best abnormal paranormal show in the world. Scotty Lopez is with me. We have taken it to a new level of woo today, Scott. We confirmed the book from Boleskine. Well, we've had, dude, we've had like, this has been off the charts. In fact, every week is like a Halloween special right here, right? So the way it's going.
Yes.
Yeah. Can I give a big special shout out to my friend Nancy as well? Been working very, very hard today. Yes. Our mutual friend Nancy. Yes. And Lisa. Lisa, I seen Lisa in the chat room earlier as well. Lisa, she's always working. She used to be one of our stalwarts here when we were doing the live streaming. So I want to give a big special shout out to those very two special ladies out there. And the rest of you thousands of ladies, don't get jealous. Don't get jealous. Myself and Scott will make our way round all of you and give you all a name check by another 50 Freaky Fridays. You'll have to keep tuning in though, you see. So I'm going to get back to the last of the stone tape theory. I'm just looking here to see. In fact, Scott, to be honest with you, I think we had the main part of it there. Yeah. Any more, it's just flogging like a dead stone. And in the end of the day, it's just a stone, right? Or is it? What is it?
Oh, is it? Exactly. Another interesting thing to bring up as well, like, so wasn't Moses given the 10 Commandments on stone, right?
There's a lot of stuff with stones in the Bible, dude.
Yeah. I mean, didn't paper exist back then? I mean, weren't the Egyptians writing stuff on papyrus, right? So why stone?
Don't let that get in the way of one of the world's most followed religions. Come on, Scott.
No, I'm just saying. It seems like a lot of these things are embedded in stone or encoded into stone, and not just visually writing, but are we talking about these tablets being encoded with information?
Well, that information's about to get more readily available because I talked about a few weeks ago. MIT had an AI that was machine learning. And it was going to like look at ancient texts and languages, Scotty. Well, of course, it's just a coincidence because that's the way that the world works. At the same time MIT were developing that, just so happens there was a university in Jerusalem that were working on exactly the same problem. Now, is that coincidence? Is it one of these ideas? It's just its time? Either way, we could be set for a treasure trove of new woo. You think of all these documents they've never been able to decode, Scotty. Maybe parts of it missing, faded. Oh, filling in gaps, patterns. Oh, let the AI at it, my friend. So we could be back here many times in the near future talking about new ancient texts. That's almost a paradox, right? A new ancient text. Because it would be new and ancient. Oh, I like it.
We're just rediscovering what we once knew, Kev. That's all it is.
Nothing new under the sun, Scott. Nothing new. No. And the way out of here is through a rock. But that's for another show altogether. So, Scotty, take your pick, man. Come on, stick your hand into my bag of woo.
Okay.
Whoa, that's tickly. Not that part. Come on, Scott. You got to take the Hell Dogs of El Dorado Canyon, man. Have we not had
did
them?
That on Halloween.
Yeah,
we did that on
them. We did them. That's why it rings a bell. Okay, I'll let you off for that one.
What about the ghost camels in Southwest or in the American Southwest?
Holy shimoly. Remember Kevin said he was going to give me a couple of camels for his daughter's hand in marriage? Do you remember he said that after last week's Freaky Friday? Was it horses or was it camels? It was horses, wasn't it? But I said I would do it for 2 camels.
Well, yeah.
Listen, dude. A man in Scotland with 1 camel is going to be a character, but with 2 camels, dude, that's like national hero type stuff. You know?
Now, the reason this caught my eye, and I picked this out of the bag, but before we get into it, is remember the Grand Canyon and the cave that was supposedly found back in the early 1900s?
Yep.
And there was supposedly some Egyptian hieroglyphs and a lot of stuff from the Middle East that shouldn't have been in there, that was in there, you know.
Kind of out of place. It was a bit of an anomaly that nobody wanted to talk about. Just shut up, move that out of the way.
And then the Smithsonian just kind of covered all that up, and nobody knows where the cave is now and all that. So that's why this caught my eye, because why would there be sightings of camels in the American Southwest unless we are talking about some kind of maybe interaction between 2 civilizations that history has told us were not interacting with each other? I don't know. That's just where my mind initially went. I don't know where this story is going to take us, but
that is for me, Scott. That's up there with one of the best stories, like a head scratcher, out of time, out of place. What are their hieroglyphs doing in the bloody Grand Canyon? That's the kind of thing when I first started waking up listening to Coast, Scott, and you'd come across a piece of information like that or something. And you would think to yourself, in fact, I would think to myself, why is the world still even operating right now? Why did everyone go back to work the day that they found this? That should have stopped everything. Oh, down tools. We've got a problem. There's a cave in the Grand Canyon. It's got writing. I mean, it just used to absolutely bamboozle me how people could just look at that information and go, oh, nothing to see here then. Just crack on.
It's like the bowl they found in Peru with Sanskrit written in it.
Yeah,
you know,
you see what I'm saying?
Why, it's like, why aren't people a little more focused on this?
And then you can go down to Gosford, the Gosford glyphs in Australia. Australia? Egyptian hieroglyphs? What are you talking about? Do you know what I'm saying? I know, man. I know.
I mean, this is another example of one of these kind of out of place things, possibly. Well, we'll see where this leads us. So it says, in 1848, the importation of camels for military purposes in the Southwest was suggested to the War Department by Henry Wayne, the quartermaster major. So are we talking about the ghosts of some imported camels? We shall find out. 2 years later, Secretary of War and Mississippi Senator Jefferson Davis tried to persuade the Senate to look into the use of camels for the U.S. Army. During this time period, the Southwest Territory of the United States was greatly expanding, and it was thought that camels could be used to carry at least twice the amount of weight as horses or mules, and might also be used in tracking and pursuing the natives, as they could travel without water or rest for much longer than horses. It was also suggested that the camels might carry the mail, and that fast camel passenger trains might be developed to run from the Missouri River points to the Pacific coast. Initially, the senators voted the idea down, but after California newspapers began to promote the idea, they finally agreed in 1854, passing a bill to appropriate 30 grand for the camel experiment. Some 72 camels, very interesting number, 72 camels, exactly. What?
That number comes up too many times for my liking. It's a code.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Why not 70? Why not 50? Why not 80? They just decided on exactly 72 camels.
The 72 camel ghosts of the Goetia. There you go.
There we go. So it says some 72 camels arrived in the country in the early part of 1857 and were put to work carrying supplies in the Southwest. However, the camels proved to be well suited to travel through the region. It said though they were proved to be well suited to travel through the region, their unpleasant disposition, a habit of frightening horses, and tendency to wander off during the nights made them very unpopular among the soldiers. Still, they continued to be used until the Civil War broke out, at which time they were sold at auction or turned loose into the desert. For years afterwards, wild camels continued to be spied roaming in the desert, especially in southwestern Arizona. Along with these real sightings, a number of legends and tales began regarding these ugly beasts of burden.
Can you imagine that though, Scott, right? You've maybe got stuck in the desert somehow. You've gone without water for a couple of days and you see a camel. You're going to think that that can't be real. I'm not over. You don't get camels in Arizona. No. I'm seeing things. And it was a real camel. That was your ticket out of there, dude. All you had to do was climb up on its hump and you were homebound, and you thought, no, it's a fake camel. It's an oasis. I know what's happening here. See? God sent you a camel and you missed it. I don't know. That probably never happened, but still funny to think, you know?
Hey, it probably did happen.
For Freaky Friday purposes, it might have.
Yes. For Freaky Friday purposes, I would say yes, it did. It says the most popular is the tale of a camel known as the Red Ghost. In 1883, a woman was found trampled to
deletion.
Deletion, yes. And on her body in a nearby bush were clumps of reddish fur. Large hoof prints were found in the area, but locals were perplexed. A short time later, a large animal careened into a tent in which two miners lay sleeping. Though they were unable to identify the beast again, large hoof prints and tufts of red hair were left behind. After more incidents occurred, the locals finally recognized the large animal as a camel. Soon people began to report seeing the camel, who one rancher said carried a rider through though the rider appeared to be deceased.
I did.
Yeah, this is almost like the remember the El Muerte, the headless dude in Texas?
Yeah, man, that's it. Yeah, I remember him, man.
We got a camel with like some.
Maybe it's the guy I was talking about. Maybe he took a chance and went on the camel, but he never made it. You see, he never made it.
So it says the next report came from a group of prospectors who saw the camel, and while watching him, spied something falling from its back. As the beast moved on, the prospectors went to see what had fallen and discovered a human skull. For the next several years, numerous others spied the camel, who by this time had been dubbed the Red Ghost, carrying its headless rider. However, in 1893, when an Arizona farmer found the red camel grazing in his garden, he shot it. By this time, the large camel had shaken free of its dead rider.
Who does he think he is? The Camel King? Is he like the Joe Exotic of his time? Not happy with this cat, Scott. Not happy with him. No. Mess with the camels, man.
He had shaken free of the deceased rider, but still bore the saddle and leather straps, which the corpse had been attached. There was much speculation as to who the mysterious rider of the who's the mysterious rider the camel had carried for several years might have been. One tale alleges that the rider was a young soldier who was afraid of the camels and therefore was having much difficulty in learning how to ride them. In order to teach him how, his fellow soldiers tied him to the top of the beast, determined that he would get over his fear. They then hit the camel on the rump, and the beast took off running. Though the soldiers pursued the camel and his rider, the red beast easily outpaced them and escaped into the desert. Neither the camels nor his helpless rider were ever seen again. Though the abandoned beasts of the Camel Corps roamed for decades, they soon disappeared altogether. And in 1907, a prospector reported that he had seen 2 wild camels in Nevada, and other reports continued to come in sporadically. However, in April 1934, the Oakland Tribune reported the last American camel is gone. The camel dubbed Topsy was last seen trekking across the desert of Arizona into California. When she made her way to Los Angeles, she was taken to Griffith Park to live. However, sometime later, she became so crippled with the paralysis, the zoo attendants were forced to put her down. Seemingly all the real army camels have long passed. However, legends continue to abound of people sighting a giant red camel carrying a headless rider in the deserts of Arizona. It sounds as if the Red Ghost may very well be living up to his name.
Only on Freaky Friday, dude. You are taking it to new heights of woo. Ghost camels, man. Come on.
Hey, you know?
Loving it, Scott. Loving it.
Says yet another legend of a ghostly camel also persists. This camel belonged to a prospector named Jake, who had purchased 3 camels from the army at the public auction. Though his camels were every bit as ornery as the soldiers had described them, he spent much time caring for them, and had nothing but praise for his beasts of burden. After Jake hit pay dirt, he led his gold-laden camels into town to sell his ore. Afterward, he headed to the local saloon to celebrate. Unfortunately, in the crowd was a man named Paul Adams, who listened with much interest to Jake's story of his gold find. Uh-oh, nothing good's going to come of this. When Jake left to return to his mine, he didn't go directly to his claim, knowing that he might be followed. Though he was careful and took a circuitous route, the man named Paul Adams followed him. When Jake encamped for the night, Adams, thinking that he was at the mine's location, deleted him, trying to protect his owner. One of the camels attacked Adams, and for his efforts was also deleted by the scoundrel, but not before he had viciously bit him. Good on the camel. That
is an angry camel. Look at that. Look at it. Not a camel toe in sight. No feet are on show. Yep. I see people. Keep your minds out the gutter.
It says, Adams then began to search in earnest for Jake's mine, until one night the ghost of Jake, riding upon the deceased camel, approached his camp and chased the scoundrel all the way into town, straight to the sheriff's office. Frightened beyond belief, Paul Adams then made a full confession.
He was the
Whether
confessional camel.
Says whether Jake and the loyal camel continue to roam the desert is unknown. Hey, you know that dude was scared by something if he ran all the way to the sheriff's office and confessed to everything and was like, put me behind bars.
And men were made of sterner stuff back then, Scott. That's all I'm gonna say. So, like you said, something happened to him. Something not good.
Happened.
Yeah. Now, in that story, it mentioned something being hooved. Not behooved, but something that's got, hoofs on its feet. And that reminds me, and I think that might be a really creepy way to take us out this week, Scotty boy. Because I done that presentation at the weekend last weekend. Big shout out to everyone at the Fringe Fest, if you've seen that. I was the warm-up act for the man that gave birth to Dave Baker. Yes, Clyde was on after me, but what I'd done was I thought, well, we'll do something different because there's only so much you can say about the famous monster sightings, the more famous incidents around Loch Ness, and I thought, well, we'll give them something new. People want something new. So I remembered it on a show with my mum about 4 years ago, and it was me, it was Johnny Whistles and her. I was up in Inverness at the time. I remember. I can't believe it was 4 years ago now. But she was going over all of the creepy stories that when I was a wee guy, like I would get her and my granny and things to tell me because they would put the absolute me. Yeah, I used to like being scared senseless by these stories. And the one that really sticks out in my mind the most is the one called The Devil on the Dance Floor. So I think what we'll do here is we'll play this. That'll take us up nicely to just before we're finished here. And I don't know, Scotty boy, there's something about a good Highland ghost story. That is freaky. It's right. Good. Perfect end up. Perfect. Freaky, right?
It's a good one, yes, and it's a perfect end to this woo evening.
Here we go. I'll just turn this up here. So folks, get ready. Here we go. It's the devil on the dance floor.
I'll tell you the story the same way as it was related to me, guys, and you can make what you wish from it. Back in the day, in the Highlands, people would go to the local dance hall every Saturday night or Friday night. The dance would start round about 10 o'clock at night. This is back in the 50s.
And it's like Free Presbyterians up there. There's quite religious people as well. There's no shenanigans. It's very not well-to-do, but well-mannered kind of
very grounded.
Yes, very grounded.
Yeah, very grounded, yeah. My mother was with her friends. They went to the local dance one Friday night it was, actually. And the tradition in the Highlands back in the day was halfway through the dance, the band would stop, the Scottish dance band would stop for an interval.
Get a little dram, a little drink.
Yeah, and the lights would go up and all the ladies would go through the back and have a cup of tea and some sandwiches would be laid on, and the gentlemen would have a dram from the half bottle in their pocket or whatever out the back of the hall.
And there wasn't exactly a plethora of young men up there. Everyone knew each other, right? Everyone knew each other.
It was post-war that this happened. This was kind of 1950. And this particular evening, a stranger used to stand out because it was a small local community. And if a stranger was in the village, they stood out because they didn't do strangers back in those days. It wasn't a touristy place. Just after the Second World War, the dance band was playing, and during the evening, a very tall, handsome young man was spotted coming into the dance hall. He was in full Highland dress. He wore a tweed jacket, dark tweed jacket with this kilt sporran.
Looking the business.
Very much dapper Highland, handsome Highland young lad. He was dancing with a lot of the lassies in the hall, and all the lassies were apparently nudging each other, wondering if they were going to get a dance from him because he was
fresh blood,
and he was what I guess you'd call a catch. Now he eventually he never danced with my late mum, but he did before the interval, ask her friend Jean to have the next dance with him. Now, he took Jean up on the dance floor while everyone, the girls, fumed, watching in jealousy with her dancing with this handsome young
I bet
man.
she was like the cat that stole the cream.
Yes, and Jean danced around the dance floor with the guy with the kilt on, and the local guys were not impressed, you know, because this was somebody poaching on their territory, their girls, as it were. And in the middle of the dance, it was interval time, and everyone knew it was coming. They don't announce it. They just finish the tune, and the lights go on. And the lights went on. And Jean looked into the guy's face, and he was a handsome man, and he was startled by the lights going on. Jean looked down, and when Jean looked down from below his kilt, this guy was hooved. He had hooves and what looked like animals' legs. Now, I know you guys out there, there's someone going to think I'm off my rocker, and so were they. They weren't. I can only tell you, I'm relating it from the people that were there. And back in the day, guys, women didn't drink. They didn't fall about drinking at dances and that. They had a cup of tea and a sandwich. You know, it just didn't happen back in those days. The guy got the shock of his life. Her friend Jean screamed. Everyone turned towards him. There were other witnesses in the hall that saw the hooved feet. He ran for his life out of the dance hall. The local boys chased him down the brae, and he disappeared, and they never ever found this guy. But that is a story, guys, and I can only tell you the way it was told to me. And I used to see my mum's eyes well up, as mine are now, as I'm telling you, and Kev's always do. That is the story.
That's the devil on the dance floor. Stay tuned for Brent Thomas. Scotty Lopez, you have knocked out the park this week, dude. Topping Freaky Friday. Brent coming up after the break. We're out of here. Well, that, ladies and gentlemen, lurkers, viewers, participants in the chat room, I tell you, for 2 hours and 55 minutes, we encapsulated, we absolutely enthralled over 100 people in the chat, Scott. They were all focused, they were all lasered in. And then the minute you brought camels and toes, and how we got to yoga pants in the chat, I've got no idea. But good on you, chat room, good on you. 2 hours and 55 minutes staying on topic, that's what sets you apart from the rest of the average viewers on YouTube. You make this the #1 abnormal, paranormal experience anywhere on the tinterwebs. So there you go, Scotty. I tell you, we turn up, we message each other half an hour before the show. Yeah, we're in the mood. Yep, got a couple of links. Bada bing, bada boom. I tell you, man, there's magic in the room.
Yes, this week's episode of Freaky Friday is what happens when you take woo and you put it in a pot and you let the water simmer and you condense it down into an elixir.
Oh, the elixir of woo! I love it. We need to have a chalice. We need a chalice to hold said elixir. Yes.
No, not a chalice. What are those called? A bauble, I think is what it's called.
Oh, now we're getting something very fancy. A bauble of elixir of woo.
It's a bauble of elixir. Yeah,
Damn, good.
It's those rounded sort of bottles that have the magical potion in it. I think those are called baubles.
Oh, look at you calling on your wizardy type information you have hidden there.
I may or may not have played a lot of nerdy RPGs throughout my lifetime.
Scotty, you're getting a load of love from the chat room, man. Load of love. Algo says Scotty rocks. Leslie's losing it. Either that or she's lost her yoga pants. Yogurt pants. Oh, now I'm getting really confused. But no, I want to thank everyone for being in there. Brilliant stuff. Scotty Lopez, again, with this new website, we're knocking it out the park. Now I need to up my game. The pressure's on now, Scott.
We've got more cryptids to pick out of the bag for next week as well. We've just barely scratched the surface of that page, so.
Yes, and full
Good.
stream ahead this week, folks. Last week, what a horrible week. And really, I hope you enjoyed having 3 hours away from everything else that's still going on in the world right now. If you are over there in America, dang, my heart goes out to all of yous, but keep calm, stay calm, let's see what's going to happen, and don't do anything too rash. And you know, you'll always find me, same night, same time, same place over on tfrlive.com. We do the streams. We've got Scotty on Thursday. We've got Jimmy Jeans, who is, it's a new Jimmy, Scott. I had him on again last night as well, and I think we changed timelines. The man is absolutely delivering, top-notch information.
Jimmy brought the fire when I was on, and I was like, dang, brother.
Yeah. Very, very good. So hopefully pull Jimmy in next week for a show when we do the main Kev Baker show. Now, Sunday, if you're a member of the channel here, what, you're not a member? You don't know how to become a member? Well, let me tell you. I've got you covered. You click that shiny blue button right below where you're watching this right now. And if for no other reason, you'll see a really crappy intro video from me. It's really personal. It's really cool. And if you are a member or you want to become a member, then Sundays, we're going back to the Sunday stream for members. I tried it members only Monday, Scott. Not so good. People working. I've got not good. Nil bueno. Not happening. Zilcho. So we're going back to Sunday.
Probably. Yeah, Sunday's probably the better choice for doing that, because then people chilling, relaxing on the weekend. Yeah.
And I think we might have a yoga pants special on next week's Freaky Friday. I'm only joking, folks. I'm only joking. I personally could talk about yoga pants for 5 hours. It's okay. Imagine how hard it would be to sit and look at yoga pants and look at all the different forms of said yoga pants for 5 hours, Scott. It'd be so depressing, right?
As long as ghost camels aren't involved.
No ghost camels. Not, and keep their feet out of this. Now, Holly, open mic is still open for guests. That's the open mic over on Discord. Discord, Kev? You have a Discord? Yes, we do. And I hear people already asking for an invite, I think. So I'm going to invite them anyway, whether you've asked or not. I will delete that. That message will self-destruct in about 60 seconds. Because you don't want to leave that there for later on when people come to the stream. Your trolls come and check it out, and then they get into your Discord, and before you know it, you've got to ban hammer people. And I will be going and banning one person that was in the stream tonight. Don't any of you people worry about that. But it shouldn't even need to be a rule that you respect others in the chat room. Don't be an asshat. Don't be a douche canoe. Because you'll soon stand out in amongst these great people. And when you start having a go at friends of mine, that means it's a really bad day for you. You don't want to anger a little dwarf Scottish guy. We're not good when we get angry.
You will face deletion. Delete.
Exactly, Mr. Lopez. So again, thank you to all of you out there. You all rock. Me and Scott, we've got when we do Freaky Friday, we see Streamlabs, we've got the websites, but we've got the chat room that Scott can see all the time. I see it all the time as well, but because we're on radio, I don't like to make a point of coming to the YouTube chat all the time, okay? So don't think me and Scott are neglecting you in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, because
Scott, isn't it?
Yeah, and we also have to show love and pay attention to the TFR chat as well. You know, so I mean, we do the best we can to try and see what everybody's saying and get to anything that that stands out to us. But no, we're not trying to ignore anybody or anything like that. It's just it's hard to multitask, especially when we're talking, trying to give our thoughts on a topic or we're getting into something or whatever. Sometimes the chat can be a little distracting. So. But yeah, well, we love all you guys. We love all you guys and everything you put out there.
Next week we're gonna do a 3-way. Me and Scotty are gonna have our first 3-way. Sounds a whole lot more exciting than I thought. Scott's thinking, no, you could have asked me first, Kev. We're going to be on TFR. We're going to be here. And we're going to be on Twitch TV. I like Twitch on the back end, Scott. I've done a couple of shows there. One worked, one was a disaster, but that was audio on my end. But yeah, we'll be going to 3 different locations next week. So, yes.
The old Twitcheroo is going to be nice.
Yes. New platforms. Yes.
Platforms.
Yeah.
Branching out. Spreading the tiscles.
Yes. There's a long fight ahead. That's all I can see.
Yes.
Be on as many platforms as you can right now, folks, because
with the way things are going,
you might end up Scotty and Kev. They might just remove you from Facebook. We are 2 of the verboten ones, and we didn't even do anything wrong. So if they can come for us, they're coming for all of us, folks. So on that note, we're going to get out of here. Want to thank you all again for being here. Remember, keep your mind open. Keep looking for the woo, but not to the point where your brain turns to black goo. Don't forget, I'll be back to maybe tomorrow, definitely Sunday, members only stream. Keep an eye on the channel. I will put the time. It should be around, I don't even know what time yet, but I'll also be back with Bill Bean at the weekend as well, because we have got warrior mode, so I'll have Travis and Bill, and I will see you all over in the disco. I hope we have managed to take your mind off all the madness, and 3 hours of full woo right here with Scotty Lopez knocking it out the park, me, Kev Baker, and all of you. So remember to subscribe if you haven't done so already. Remember to hit like, leave a comment on your way out, and tell one friend this week about Freaky Friday, and let's try and double the show size for next week.